Chapter 475. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow looked at the Shantian Tower and pondered. The Shantian Tower was truly domineering and pierced through the clouds. It was ancient and fragrant. Hee, why are you interested? Lan Yuxuan looked at Night Sorrow and asked. I'm interested. I'll give it a try when I have time, Night Sorrow said. Okay, let's go to Tianji Tower's headquarters now. Remember, the matters of the Tianji Tower's headquarters cannot be leaked, Lan Yuxuan said to Night Sorrow and the others. We will, Night Sorrow said. After a while, they arrived in front of an ancient and majestic pavilion. This place is called the Celestial Peak Pavilion. We don't deal with outsiders. You can say that if you don't have a Tianji Tower token on you, you will be mercilessly killed by the array formation inside the Celestial Peak Pavilion. Keep your tokens on you, don't put them in your storage rings. Lan Yuxuan stood in front of the pavilion and said. So terrifying? Night Sorrow said with some surprise. At the same time, he took out his ID card and placed it in his bosom. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu did the same. Of course. What is this place? It's the headquarters of our Tianji Tower, Lan Yuxuan said. I feel that it's even more domineering than the City Lord's mansion. When I passed by the City Lord's mansion just now, I didn't feel that way. Yang Lei spoke out her inner feelings. You're right, Yang Lei spoke out her inner feelings. Our Tianji Tower might not be as influential as the Royal City Lord Manor, but that's because our forces are scattered. If our Tianji Tower's forces are concentrated in a single region, it would be easy for us to slaughter a royal city. Take the Eastern Profound Region's branch palace as an example. Mistress Wu Kei alone can suppress an entire region. As she spoke, Lan Yuxuan brought the 4 of them into the pavilion. Indeed, Tianji Tower is scattered in the 9 regions and 18 states. If all the branches are gathered together, their strength is indeed difficult to estimate, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. However, the City Lord's mansion's strength can't be estimated simply. The City Lord's mansion is a top force in a region. Fighting with the City Lord's mansion means starting a war with a region. The consequences are also very serious. Lan Yuxuan led the group into the pavilion's lobby. The people in the lobby were all members of Tianji Tower wearing bronze masks. Lan Yuxuan led them through the main hall of the pavilion and arrived at the backyard. Why are there so many patrols? Yi Shan muttered when they reached the backyard of the main building. No. They aren't patrollers. Patrollers are selected from various forces. These are the death warriors nurtured by the Heaven's Extreme Tower. The Bronze Palace warriors are only responsible for fighting. They fight to protect the glory of the Heaven's Extreme Tower. Lan Yuxuan explained. Then why are we allowed to go in and out? Yang Lei asked, puzzled. When we entered the pavilion, the array didn't attack us. This means that we have a token and are the core members of Tianji Tower. Also, are the masks on our faces fake? Lan Yuxuan said helplessly. Lan Yuxuan then led the 3 of them into a small courtyard. This is my resting and cultivation place. Just as Lan Yuxuan was speaking, 2 maids came over and bowed. Serve these lords well. Yang Lei and Chuyu don't need to wear masks here. They are all trained by Tianji Tower and are absolutely loyal. Lan Yuxuan took off her mask and said. Then the few of them took off their masks and drank the tea served by the maids. The 2 of you can rest here first. When Night Sorrow is officially appointed as the Celestial Oracle, you don't have to stay here because the higher-ups will arrange a residence for you. Lan Yuxuan took a sip of tea and said. That's not important. I'll have to trouble Inspector Lan. Sikong Chuyu cupped his hands towards Lan Yuxuan. Their problem also needs to be solved. After entering the 5th Order, it's not an ordinary inspection. The headquarters will make arrangements for this. However, your matter is more important, so I have to make arrangements first. I still have to be a good guide. Lan Yuxuan finished her tea and stood up, saying to Night Sorrow. We're going to meet someone? Night Sorrow also stood up. Yes. Come with me to meet the real higher-ups. Put on your mask first. Lan Yuxuan said and put on her mask. Night Sorrow nodded to Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu, put on his mask, and then looked at Lan Yuxuan. We can go now. Under Lan Yuxuan's lead, Night Sorrow and her entered the back pavilion of the Celestial Oracle Pavilion. Lan Yuxuan took out her token from time to time and showed it to the palace guard. Then, the two went down the stairs and went underground. At this time, the palace guard was already wearing a silver mask. At this time, Night Sorrow also needed to show his token. Without it, he would have to stop. Seeing Night Sorrow's white token with a flame, the palace guard let them go. Night Sorrow followed Lan Yuxuan to an underground hall. There was a teleportation array in the underground hall, and a man with a golden mask stood in front of it. Night Sorrow, take off your mask. After coming here, you can't wear a mask anymore. Lord Tianqing, this is Night Sorrow who passed the Celestial Oracle 5 stars assessment. I'm going to take him to the Dark Tower. Lan Yuxuan said to the man with the golden mask after taking off her mask. Okay. He has a token. His identity has been confirmed, so you can teleport. Inspector Lan, please. After glancing at Night Sorrow's token, the man with the golden mask took a step back. Night Sorrow nodded slightly. He knew that this was Tianji Tower's Golden Palace Guard, the core force. However, he also noticed the difference in the mask. Whether it was an inspector, a protector, or a supervisor, their masks had patterns on them. However, the masks of these palace guards were shiny without any patterns. As the Golden Palace Guard called Tianqing stepped back, Lan Yuxuan took Night Sorrow and stepped into the teleportation array. Then, she picked up the crystal placed on the side and inserted it into the card slot to teleport. After a moment of absent-mindedness, Lan Yuxuan and Yi Shang arrived at a special location. There was a teleportation array beneath their feet, and they were surrounded by a lush ancient forest. Not far away, there was an incomparably grand hall. At this time, there was a golden palace guard outside the teleportation array. Lord Jinhua, this is the person the chief wants to see. Lan Yuxuan said to the woman with the golden mask. Go. The woman with the golden mask nodded after glancing at the token in Night Sorrow's hand. Night Sorrow, this is the real core area of Tianji Tower, the Dark Tower. The chief, the law enforcement elders, and the protector elders are all here. Tianji Tower's highest order is also issued from here. Lan Yuxuan said to Night Sorrow. I understand. It's almost impossible for this place to be captured. Night Sorrow said. See latest chapter section above 0T, yes. When entering the teleportation array in the underground palace, you can't wear a mask. Those who can enter the Dark Tower are limited to some of the higher-ups. Lord Tianqing can confirm your identity 100%. It's impossible for anyone to sneak in. Lan Yuxuan said with a smile. It's an ancient inheritance. There is indeed a set of strict rules and methods. Night Sorrow nodded. Chapter 476. A genius remembers love in 1 second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. So strict? Night Sorrow asked in surprise. Of course, what is this place? It's the core of Tianji Tower. I've just obtained the qualifications to enter this place, Lan Yuxuan said with a smile. I understand. Then, under Lan Yuxuan's lead, the two entered the main hall. There were 2 old men meditating in the main hall. When they saw Lan Yuxuan and Night Sorrow arrive, they opened their eyes. Yu Xian, is this the Night Sorrow who passed the Heavenly Fate assessment? An old man wearing a blue robe asked. Yes, elderly Night Sorrow, let me introduce you. This is the guardian elder of Tianji Tower, elderly, and this is the law-enforcing elder, Elder Hua, Lan Yuxuan introduced. Yi Shang greets the 2 elders. Yi Shang bowed in greeting. It has been less than 3 years since you entered the Purple Light Realm. You are already at the 4th level of the void inquiry stage and your essence chi is more than 10 zhang asterisk, 3. 33 m per zhang. Good. Very good. Elderly looked at Night Sorrow and said good twice in a low voice. It was obvious that he was very emotional. According to the records, Night Sorrow has only been cultivating for 3 years. Men, go and inform the Chief K-Master, the Chief Supervisor, and the Chief Protector to come here. Elder Hua, whose beard was like steel needles, shouted behind him. Then, a figure wearing a pitch-black mask appeared and left the hall. Sit anywhere you want. You don't have to be reserved. With a wave of his arm, Elderly kept the futon and sat down on a chair by the side. Then, he pointed to a chair beside him and said to Night Sorrow. J the only %positive S hashtag version. It's a carat all VW is D asterisk steel C version Lu. Thank you, Elderly. Night Sorrow cupped his hands and found a seat. Then, this subordinate will take her leave. Lan Yushuan bowed and said. There's no need. I need you to convey something later. Elder Hua waved his hand and stopped Lan Yushuan from leaving. Night Sorrow, is Mistress Wu Kei doing well? Elderly asked. Everything is fine. Thank you for your concern, Elder. Night Sorrow stood up and said. Sit down. You're the most outstanding member that Tianji Tower has discovered in hundreds of years. I'm very happy, Elderly said while stroking his long beard. Just as they were talking, 3 people walked in through the door. The middle-aged man in the lead was wearing a brocade robe, while the other 2 were wearing gray robes. Greetings, K-Master. Elderly, Elder Hua, and Lan Yushuan all bowed. Night Sorrow also stood up and cupped his hands. Baidu search AI go female sign shao say www.aichuxs. Sim nodding his head, the middle-aged man sat down on the main seat. The other 2 also sat down beside Elderly and Elder Hua. Not bad at all. Seeing you, I can see the future of Tianji Tower. Let me introduce myself to you. I'm Lin Yuandao, the current K-Master of Tianji Tower. Lin Yuandao introduced himself to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow greets K-Master. Night Sorrow bowed to Lin Yuandao. No need to be so polite. Everyone, introduce yourselves. Lin Yuandao said. Elderly stood up and introduced his position and name. Guardian Elder Le Trin Swan. Elder Hua stood up and introduced himself. Law Enforcement Elder Hua Haining. Chief Protector's name, Li Chang Tian. Chief Supervisor Elder Li Chang Tian. Night Sorrow, you've completed your 5 stars assessment, so there are some procedures you need to go through. Elderly, please announce the absolute core of Tianji Tower, the rules you need to abide by, and the obligations you need to fulfill for Tianji Tower. Lin Yuandao said to Le Trin Swan. Le Trin Swan stood up and read out the rules of Tianji Tower. The first rule was that Tianji Tower's interests were paramount, and they were not allowed to betray Tianji Tower. The other rules were that they were not allowed to kill non-cultivators, they were not allowed to commit crimes, and they were not allowed to commit crimes. It was similar to the rules of a sect. Night Sorrow can do these, but I hope you won't restrict my freedom, Night Sorrow said after listening to Le Trin Swan read out the rules. There are no restrictions, but when Tianji Tower is in danger, you must step forward bravely. You can't just sit back and do nothing, Lin Yuandao said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow can do it. I'll remember that I'm a member of Tianji Tower, Night Sorrow said with a bow. That's right. Remember that you're a member of Tianji Tower. This is the core topic. Since there are no problems, from today onwards, you're a Tianji envoy of Tianji Tower. Give me your token. Lin Yuandao stretched out his hand to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow took out his token and handed it to Lin Yuandao. After receiving Night Sorrow's token, Lin Yuandao took out his own golden token and combined it with Night Sorrow's token. Then, both tokens lit up. Lin Yuandao then returned the token to Night Sorrow. The token has been activated and can be used officially. You can go anywhere in Tianji Tower without any hindrance. Night Sorrow understands. Night Sorrow nodded. In the future, if you have any problems, just tell me, the two elders, the chief protector, and the chief supervisor. In addition, Supervisor Lan, you'll be in charge of Night Sorrow's situation from now on. If he doesn't understand, you can help him pass on a message to us. You can also introduce some people you don't know to us, Lin Yuandao said to Lan Yuxuan. This subordinate understands. Lan Yuxuan said with a bow. You understand the position and mission of a Tianji envoy. In the future, put down other things in your hands and be in charge of Night Sorrow's matters, Lin Yuandao emphasized to Lan Yuxuan again. Lan Yuxuan obeyed again. It could be said that she was Night Sorrow's personal subordinate from now on. Night Sorrow, later on, have Chief Supervisor Guo arrange a residence for you. You can stay in Sky-bearing City and cultivate, Lin Yuandao said to Night Sorrow. At this moment, Li Changtian's body shook and he swayed in his chair before stabilizing. What is it? Night Sorrow bowed to Li Changtian. He knew what was going on. The chief supervisor had been sizing him up and then used his soul power to investigate, which caused a backlash from the heavenly fate pearl. What's wrong? Lin Yuandao stood up. This subordinate saw his blood and qi surging and essence qi rising to the top of his head, so I investigated and received a backlash, Li Changtian said awkwardly. Then it's fine. Chief Supervisor Guo will arrange a residence for Night Sorrow. Lin Yuandao continued the previous topic. Lord K, I will be leaving Sky-bearing City later on. I don't need a residence. Night Sorrow cupped his hands and said. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Lo Trin Swan stood up anxiously. How can that be? You are a Tianji envoy. Our Tianji Tower only has 2 Tianji envoys. How can you leave Sky-bearing City? Elderly, Night Sorrow is a member of Tianji Tower no matter where he goes. He won't give up on his dream of becoming an expert. The main thing is that the eastern Xian region is in chaos right now. My Aunt Fei wants me to return first, Night Sorrow said. Who is Aunt Fei? You are a Tianji envoy of Tianji Tower. No one can dictate your path, Lin Yuandao said with a frown. Chapter 477. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? I'll provide you with a wonderful novel to read. It seems that Tower Master Wu Kei has made arrangements. Then I won't interfere in this matter. However, a residence is still necessary. The Heaven's Fate emissaries need a place to stay in the headquarters. Love go little say, Chulin Yuandao thought for a moment and said. Then he handed Lan Yuxuan a round token. Supervisor Lan, arrange the 9th courtyard for Night Sorrow. This subordinate understands. Lan Yuxuan bowed and took the token. Seniors, please continue with your work. Night Sorrow will take his leave. Night Sorrow cupped his hands and said. Go. If you have any problems, come find us here. You can also come if you don't have anything to do, Lo Trin Swan said. Yi Shang nodded, bowed once more, and left the hall. Lan Yuxuan bowed to the 5 people in the hall and then followed Night Sorrow out of the hall. Supervisor Lan, these 5 are the absolute upper echelons of Tianji Tower, right? Night Sorrow asked as they walked. Yes, there are also 2 vice tower masters. Tower Master Wu Kei is one, and the other is a branch master of another region. They aren't in Qingtian City. In fact, Tianji Tower is one of the 7 giants, Lan Yuxuan said. Love go little say, Chu, in the future, I may trouble Supervisor Lan with my matters. I hope Supervisor Lan will be more understanding, Yi Shang said. Don't say that, sir. This is what this subordinate should do, Lan Yuxuan said. Hearing Lan Yuxuan's words, Yi Shang was stunned and stopped in his tracks. Was this the change in status? He suddenly felt unfamiliar with Lan Yuxuan. Supervisor Lan, if you don't mind, you can call me Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow looked at Lan Yuxuan and said. All right, calling you sir is indeed unfamiliar, but if you call me by name, the higher-ups will say something. Lan Yuxuan turned around and looked in the direction of the hall. Don't worry, this is what I want. Let's go. Night Sorrow said with a wave of his hand. Once again arriving in front of the transmission array, Lan Yuxuan cupped her hands towards the woman wearing a golden mask. Lady Jinyu, Lady Night Sorrow has officially been appointed as the Celestial Extremity Envoy. Please let her pass in the future. Subordinate Jinyu greets Lord Heaven's Extremity Emissary. Jinyu cupped her hands at Night Sorrow. Her cultivation was high, but she was only a Golden Palace guard. She had no position, so she was naturally a subordinate. Senior Jinyu is too polite. I, Night Sorrow, am not worthy of such praise. Night Sorrow cupped his hands in return. Gold Moon nodded to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow and Lan Yuxuan took the transmission array and left Celestial Extreme Dark Tower, arriving at Celestial Extreme Pavilion's underground Great Hall. Following which, Lan Yuxuan introduced Night Sorrow's identity to Heavenly Star. This was to make it easier for Night Sorrow to pass through in the future. Heavenly Star was a bit slow and wanted to check Night Sorrow's token. Night Sorrow knew that this was a responsible attitude, so he didn't mind and directly gave the token to Heavenly Star for inspection. After inspecting the token, Heavenly Star bowed to Night Sorrow again. Night Sorrow and Lan Yuxuan then returned to the courtyard where she was resting. Lan Yuxuan said to Yang Lei, Sikong Chuyu, and Night Sorrow, who had just come out of the courtyard, this small courtyard is where the inspectors and enforcers rest. In addition, our Tianji Tower has an exclusive area in Qingtian City. Your residence is there. Let's go. Then let's go. Night Sorrow nodded. As they walked, Lan Yuxuan introduced the Celestial Extreme Pavilion situation. The Celestial Extreme Pavilion was the area where the inspectors, enforcers, and inspectors of Tianji Tower worked. The security level was very high, and it was completely different from the branch where missions were received and issued. Love Go Little Say Netku. After exiting the Celestial Extreme Pavilion, the four of them flew on their flying demon beasts for 15 minutes before arriving at an orderly residence area. Lan Yuxuan let Night Sorrow and Yang Lei control Tianyu and the Dark Feathered Eagle to land. This area is Tianji Tower's territory. Without a Tianji Tower token, you can't enter this area. At the same time, it's also a no-fly zone. If a flying demon beast appears, it will be killed. In the future, don't fly in this area, Lan Yuxuan said to Night Sorrow. After entering the main street, the four of them were stopped. The leader was a silver-masked Silver Palace guard. Night Sorrow took out his token while Lan Yuxuan took out the round token that Guo Xiao had given her. The silver-masked guard bowed in greeting, then checked Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu's tokens before letting them go. At the same time, two bronze palace guards led the way. This area was different from other areas. It didn't have the hustle and bustle of the downtown area. Both sides of the street were filled with lush green ancient trees. This is the area where the core members of Tianji Tower live. In the middle are the residences of several big shots. The surrounding areas are the residences of some members with higher status, Lan Yuxuan said as she led the way. Then, the group arrived in front of an elegant residence. Original C version 9 First You, this is residence number 9. Sir, you may enter. One of the bronze palace guards said. Night Sorrow nodded and led Lan Yuxuan, Yang Lei, and Sikong Chuyu into the residence. The two bronze palace guards became the guards. There were 4 maidservants in the residence. Lan Yuxuan took out the residence token and announced that Night Sorrow was the owner of the residence. Seeing the token, the maidservants bowed in greeting. Night Sorrow, this place is absolutely safe. They are all trained by the Tianji Tower base. Like the palace guards, there is no problem with their loyalty, Lan Yuxuan said. Fortunately, at least there is a place to stay. Night Sorrow smiled and was about to make tea, but a maidservant bowed and took the initiative to make tea. This place is very secretive. Every courtyard has a formation around it that can prevent detection, Lan Yuxuan said as she took the teacup from the maidservant. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that Lan Yuxuan was a shrewd person and knew what he was thinking. He was worried about this problem. If they were monitored, it would be uncomfortable to live there. Then where does Supervisor Lan live? Do you need to leave a room? Yang Lei asked. That's not necessary. I also live in this area. I live in residence number 21, Lan Yuxuan said with a smile. In this area, the residences were numbered closer to the front, and the residences were numbered closer to the back. After staying for a while, Lan Yuxuan left. After sending Lan Yuxuan off, Night Sorrow told Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu about his appointment as the Celestial Terminus Emissary and the attitude of the leaders. Very good. Things are perfect. We won't restrict your freedom, so you can do whatever you want. As for killing ordinary people, we won't do it. You have the two of us, we won't do it, Yang Lei said with a smile. Watching Night Sorrow rise step by step, Yang Lei was very happy. She was even happier than her own achievements. Night Sorrow, you may not know the significance of the Celestial Terminus Emissary. That is the successor of Tianji Tower. What kind of power is Tianji Tower? All the city lord mansions of the 9 regions and 18 states have to give them face, Sikong Chuyu said. But I don't like the fact that the city lord mansions of King's City and Tianji Tower have a good relationship, Night Sorrow said. Chapter 478. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Could it be that there are conflicts between the city lord's office and Tianji Tower? Night Sorrow asked in surprise. Of course. Eastern Xian region is completely under Aunt Fei's control, so there are no conflicts. It's not like this in other regions. Conflicts are common, but no one would easily touch the interests of Tianji Tower. The main reason is that Tianji Tower is very self-disciplined, Sikong Chuyu said. That's indeed the case. If Tianji Tower is ambitious, they can gather the forces of the 9 regions and easily sweep through a region. Night Sorrow thought for a moment. When Yi Shang saw the 5 giants of the Celestial Extreme Tower, he felt that they were all experts. Tian Xing and Jin Yu were both venerables. In addition, he could tell from Lan Yuxuan's residence in mansion number 21 that there were 20 people above her. Excluding the 2 celestial emissaries who might be of lower cultivation, there were at least 18 powerful venerables above them. What kind of strength was this? A sect with venerables in Eastern Xian region could be called a superpower. However, such a superpower could be easily crushed in the eyes of Tianji Tower. The concept of development is different. Tianji Tower's development is based on people, not on fighting for territory. This concept is very good, Yang Lei said. Love go little say W, Chu, therefore, the forces of the 9 regions royal city can only watch and ignore the development of Tianji Tower. It's not a threat to them. In addition, Tianji Tower doesn't want to have a war, mainly because Tianji Tower's members come from the 9 regions and 18 states. If there is a war, it will also hurt their own members, Sikong Chuyu said. I prefer the philosophy of Tianji Tower. Besides, it's not selfish. It's just like how they are willing to lend a helping hand when our Eastern Xian region is in trouble. This is a kind of comradeship, Night Sorrow said. Yes, and Night Sorrow, your safety is no longer a problem. If you have a conflict with the GU family, they can kill you, but they can only send out 5th grade cultivators. If they send venerables to kill you, they won't be able to bear the consequences unless they are exposed, said Sikong Chuyu. I understand. What if GU's family members also work in the Celestial Terminus Tower? Yi Shang asked. That's cruel. Values determine everything, Sikong Chuyu said with a smile. Comparing values? If anyone can defeat you, this celestial extremity, I will laugh. Yang Lei put her arm around Night Sorrow's shoulder and said. Not bad. Night Sorrow nodded with satisfaction. I think so too. Although we can't do whatever we want, GU's family is the same. We're on the same starting line, Sikong Chuyu said. That's enough. We have a way to cultivate the power of the soul. It's only a matter of time before 13 becomes a venerable. Ji Yu's family can just wait. Yang Lei was angry when she thought of Father Gu's arm being cut off. She knew that this was also a knot in Knight Sorrow's heart. Chuyu, wait for me for a while. Things will be solved, Knight Sorrow said. I understand. There's no hurry. It's fine now, Sikong Chuyu said with a smile. It's really good. The people and matters of the Empyrean Terminus Tower are the same as I am. I don't want to bring any trouble to the Empyrean Terminus Tower. It's best to rely on yourself. It's best to grasp things in your hands. Strength. I need strength, Knight Sorrow said. Let's go out tomorrow and take a look at Xiantian Tower when it's convenient, Yang Lei said. Alright, but we still need to be careful. Most of the power in Qingtian City is controlled by Ji Yu's family. City Lord Ji Yu Fenglan is a member of Ji Yu's family, Sikong Chuyu said. So what? They owe me, Knight Sorrow said coldly. 13. Ji Yu's family asked the assassination hall to kill you. They already see you as a thorn in their side, so there's nothing wrong with being careful. What you need is time, Yang Lei comforted the angry Knight Sorrow. I get angry when they're mentioned, but I'll calm down, Knight Sorrow said apologetically to Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. Then let's take a look at this mansion. Sikong Chuyu changed the topic. She knew that Ji Yu's family was a thorn in Knight Sorrow's heart. Knight Sorrow would easily explode if they were mentioned. Mansion number 9 occupied a large area. It was a courtyard with 2 courtyards. The front was where the gatekeeper and servant girls lived, the back was the main building, and the side was the hall. In the middle of the courtyard was a small garden and a training ground. The design was very reasonable. Not bad, Sikong Chuyu said as he looked around. I've realized that 13, you can get along well wherever you go. After leaving Pill Cauldron Mountain, you got the Dragon Spring Courtyard, you bought the Tranquil Heart Cottage in Dongxian City, and now you have a mansion here, Yang Lei said with a smile. This place is different from the Dragon Spring Courtyard and the Tranquil Heart Cottage. Those are ours, and this is just a place to live. It can't be considered ours, Knight Sorrow said. Sir, you're overthinking. As long as you're a member of Tianji Tower, this is your mansion. It's just that you can't sell it, the servant girl who brought tea said. You can't sell it? Knight Sorrow looked at the servant girl and asked. No, Tianji Tower doesn't have such a precedent. I know a little about mansions. Mansions are lifelong, just like mansion number 2 and mansion number 3. The owners never live there, but the ownership is still in the hands of their owners. In other words, unless you give it up yourself, or you betray Tianji Tower, this mansion will always belong to you. In addition, you can't receive guests who aren't members of Tianji Tower, the servant girl said with a bow. I see. Then I understand. What's your name? Knight Sorrow asked. I'm Kei Xiang. I'm currently the manager of this mansion, Kei Xiang said with a bow. Then you'll have to worry about the mansion in the future. Here are some mid-grade crystal stones. You can use them to maintain the mansion's expenses. Knight Sorrow took out a storage belt and put some mid-grade crystal stones into it. No need. Tianji Tower has already arranged all the expenses for the mansion, Kei Xiang said with a shake of her head. Okay. If there's any problem, just let me know, Knight Sorrow said as he took back the storage belt. Yes. Sir, I'll leave you to it. Kei Xiang bowed and left. The servant girls trained by Tianji Tower are also very good. Although they're humble, they're not overcautious, Sikong Chuyu said as he looked at the direction where Kei Xiang left. That's not important. Let's look at the residence. Let's take a look at the main building first. Knight Sorrow led the 2 girls into the main building. Knight Sorrow didn't know that after he left the Empyrean Tower, several leaders of Tianji Tower were talking. The core of the conversation was Knight Sorrow. The only genuine J, his DP coup is / stealing S edition EP. Chapter 479. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. I don't know. When I probed his spirit sea, I was hit by a strong backlash. It was just a light probe, so the backlash wasn't very strong. Li Changtian said. He didn't have any reaction at that time. In other words, it wasn't his own will. He doesn't have the ability to do so. It's a treasure that automatically protects its owner. It protected his spirit sea. That's incredible. Lin Yuandao said. This little guy almost made me suffer a great loss. Li Zhangtian rubbed his forehead and said. You too. You even probed him deeply. Didn't you suffer a loss? Le Trin Xuan said with a smile. I saw that his true qi was condensed and there was no problem with his true qi cultivation. That's why I probed his spirit sea. Who knew that it would turn out like this? Li Changtian said in a slightly depressed tone. The condition of his body is the most peculiar part. His qi and blood are surging and his essence qi is more than 10 zhang *, 3. 33 m per zhang, high. Think about it. Hua Haining shared his feelings about night sorrow. That's right. According to the information confirmed by Lan Yuxuan, Guan Yun and Ling Jian, night sorrow is less than 20 years old this year. His true qi cultivation is at the 4th level of the void inquiry stage. This is already an incredible achievement. Besides, he has also cultivated his body to such a level. This is one of a kind. If there is no flaw in his soul, he will certainly have great achievements in the future. Lin Yuandao said. Our Tianji Tower will have a successor in the future. Le Trin Xuan said excitedly. That's right. We have all read his information. From the process of his rise, there is no flaw in his moral character and temperament. He values friendship and righteousness. Moreover, he is not greedy. He has a very strong moral integrity. Lin Yuandao commented on night sorrow. But this is also the biggest problem. He has his own principles. There is no desire for power in his heart. Therefore, it is very difficult for him to have a true sense of belonging. Li Changtian said. This is a problem, but it is also a good sign. Once he has a sense of belonging, he won't have to worry about anything anymore. Look at how he stayed in the Medicine Valley. Why are you fighting for the Eastern Xian region? If he approves of Tianji Tower, then what he can do for Medicine Valley and Eastern Xian region, he can also do for Tianjin Tower, Lin Daoyuan said. Let's not take the path of benefits. We need to communicate with him honestly. If this goes on, it's only a matter of time before we feel a sense of belonging. Hua Haining expressed his opinion. Furthermore, with our relationship with Master Wu Kei, none of these problems will be a problem, Lin Yuandao said with a smile. That's right. When I have time, I want to see Master Wu Quebec. We haven't seen each other for many years. Back then, we arrived late. I hope Mistress Wu doesn't have any misunderstandings in her heart. Hua Haining sighed and said. That's my problem, but Mistress Wu Kei shouldn't mind. If she did, night sorrow wouldn't have come to the Qingtian region. This time, I need to make this trip. There are some things that need to be said. It can't be left unsaid, Lin Yuandao exhaled and said. It's a bit far. Let's talk about night sorrow. He and Mistress Wu Kei are very similar in that they both have things they want to protect. All members of the Eastern Xian region are like this. Just like Lei Hua and Ho Yuan, they both have positions in the Eastern Xian region. Le Trin Xuan smiled bitterly. This is also a good thing. The Eastern Xian region is an iron plate. It can become the second base of Tianji Tower. Mistress Wu Kei knows that Tianjin Tower won't harm the interests of the Eastern Xian region, so there's absolutely no problem. I'll talk to Mistress Wu Kei about this matter later, Lin Daoyuan said. Then, can we leave night sorrow to the Ministry of Supervision? Guo Xiao said. Look at chapter B above, plus XJ, no way. Don't even think about it. I'm already old, and you still want me to guide him? Le Trin Xuan said. Stop shouting. I also need a successor. Hua Haining also spoke, wanting to get Night Sorrow to his side. Don't argue about this matter. Last time, the Heaven's Fate emissary was taken by the Law Protector Department, so I didn't say anything. This time, none of you have any ideas about Night Sorrow. Can you go and ask Mistress Wu Kei for him? You can't? If you can't, then don't say anything. I'll go and ask for him, so he's mine. Lin Daoyuan directly made the decision to get Night Sorrow to his side. All right. Although I'm a little unwilling, this is indeed suitable. Night Sorrow has a persistent personality, and he's a good foundation to take charge of the general direction, Le Trin Xuan said. Then it's settled. You all should pay attention to Night Sorrow's matter. He's a rare seedling, Lin Daoyuan said. Although they were a little unwilling, Le Trin Xuan and the others all supported Lin Daoyuan's decision. There's one more thing that we need to make a decision on together. Our Tianji Tower wants to develop a second base. Back then, the establishment of the first base caused quite a stir. I don't want that to happen this time, Lin Yuandao said. If you want to develop a second base in Eastern Xian region, you need to communicate with Mistress Wu Kei. Hua Haining looked at Lin Daoyuan and said. Yes, in Mistress Wu Kei's heart, the division of interests between Tianji Tower and Eastern Xian region is a problem that she's been tangled in. That's why she hasn't come to see us all these years. If we want to untie the knot in her heart and develop a second base, we need to make a statement on this matter. Lin Yuandao looked at Le Trin Xuan and the others and said. There's nothing to discuss. Mistress Wu Kei cares about Eastern Xian region and Tianji Tower, so we'll satisfy her any request she has, Li Changtian said. Then let's do it this way. Our Tianji Tower and Eastern Xian region are tied to the same worship. If something happens to Eastern Xian region, Tianji Tower will also take action. In addition, the matters of Eastern Xian region will still be decided by the City Lord's mansion. We're just building a base and cultivating talents, Lin Daoyuan said. I disagree. Eastern Xian region is currently Mistress Wu Kei's world. That's not a problem. But what about the future? If there's a change in power in the future, how will our Tianji Tower deal with it? Guo Xiao voiced his opposition. If I hadn't seen Night Sorrow, I would also have this concern and wouldn't have made this decision. If Mistress Wu Kei's era of ruling Eastern Xian region is over, then what about the next generation? Will Night Sorrow be the next Eastern Xian region chief? Lin Daoyuan made some assumptions. After Lin Daoyuan finished speaking, the other four didn't say anything. They were all thinking. In the future, when Mistress Wu Kei confirms Night Sorrow as the next city lord of Eastern Xian City, the situation will be as awkward as now? Hua Haining asked. Our Tianji Tower's laws are a little vague on this point, causing the two tower lords to be conflicted. Who said that the royal city's city lord can't be Tianji Tower's tower lord? It's because of this concern that our Tianji Tower can't reach its peak state. Now, I'm going to change this law. Lin Yuandao looked at them and announced his decision to change the law. It really needs to be clarified. Our Tianji Tower's members come from all over the place. Who doesn't have a hometown complex? Le Trin Xuan said with a sigh. Chapter 480. Genius 1 second. Remember love go/small? Show.net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Yes, so this time we need to talk about some things on the table. Don't be secretive. Fei Chen Listen is necessary, so that our Tianjin Tower can develop quickly, Lin Yuandao said. This is necessary. When Tianjin Tower recruited members, we said that Tianjin Tower's interests are paramount. Everyone knows this, but Tianjin Tower also has to consider the hearts of its members. Everyone has their own side that they want to protect. In fact, our Tianjin Tower's ancestors thought about this, so there is a rule against fighting for territory. We are afraid that it will disappoint our members, Hua Haining said after Lin Daoyuan's words. Yes, so we must respect the hearts of our members. In addition, if the Eastern Xian region can be built smoothly, many problems can be solved. As for whether the royal city's city lord can be Lord K's problem, as long as Tianjin Tower's interests are paramount, there is nothing wrong with it. Besides, the personnel assessment is a test, and the specific situation can be dealt with accordingly. Then the drawbacks can be eliminated, Lin Daoyuan said, making a decision. After Lin Daoyuan finished speaking, Lu Trinswan and the others stood up and directly expressed their agreement. Good, then I will go to the eastern Xian region tomorrow. Elderly, you are familiar with Lord Wu Kei, so let's go together. Lin Daoyuan said to Li Jingxian. Let's go, Lin Daoyuan said to Li Jingxian. In addition, everyone should pay more attention to Knight Sorrow's matter. Also, don't pull people to your side. I will deal with the arrangements for Knight Sorrow. Lin Daoyuan looked at Hua Haining, Guo Xiao, and Li Changtian, then instructed. At this point, the Tianjin Tower's high-level meeting was over, and several important decisions were made. At this time, in the eastern Xian region's tranquil heart cottage, the wind and clouds above the observation tower changed for a long time before calming down. Then, Wu Lingfei walked out of the tower. She waved her hand, and the bamboo in the courtyard immediately changed. It became more lush and green, and its height increased. The evolution of the life attribute is complete. I can proceed to the next step, Wu Lingfei muttered to herself before returning to the observation tower. After Knight Sorrow finished eating the food prepared by Kei Xiang, he took Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu to the courtyard to drink tea and watch the moonlight. The moon is always the same, but it looks different. Back then, in Bamboo Garden Village, in front of the ancestors' graves, the moon felt very bright and cold. It felt very illusory. Now, it doesn't feel as bright as back then, but it feels very real. Knight Sorrow said with some emotion. The state of mind. Back then, you were lonely and even a little helpless. After all, things are different now. You have a goal, Yang Lei said. Yes, I was very confused in the past. I wanted to do something, but it felt very distant. Now, I feel that everything is hopeful. As long as I work hard, there will be hope. Knight Sorrow exhaled and said. The Night Moon dynasty shouldn't be a problem. A dynasty that has accumulated for countless years won't die so easily. Sikong Chuyu knew what Knight Sorrow was thinking. Let's solve our problem first. However, it won't conflict. As long as our cultivation improves, all problems will be solved, Knight Sorrow said. Knight Sorrow wanted to do a lot of things, but he felt that he had to deal with the matter between himself and Sikong Chuyu first. If he wanted to be together with Sikong Chuyu openly, he had to get the approval of the Sikong family. Knight Sorrow weighed the matter in his heart. The past, like the revenge of the Night Moon family and the fact that the Jiyu family owed old Gu an arm, could not be changed. However, if it didn't happen, he hoped for a happy ending. Yes, so you should calm down. Aren't we together? The truth is the truth. Even if the Sikong family objects, no one can change the truth, Sikong Chuyu said. The future is still very beautiful. Let's rest. Chuyu, do you want to join us? Yang Lei said with a smile. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, no, it's too embarrassing, Sikong Chuyu said with a red face. But it's too tiring to be alone. Just treat it as keeping me company. Yang Lei held Sikong Chuyu's hand and walked towards the main building. Knight Sorrow didn't know what to do as he watched Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu leave. If he followed them, he would be embarrassed. If he didn't, he would embarrass Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. The woman had already let go. Why wouldn't he go? While Knight Sorrow was still hesitating, Yang Lei turned around and said, "Why are you still standing there? Let's go." Knight Sorrow nodded and followed. Suddenly, his state of mind changed. There was no need to be conflicted. He just had to follow his heart. After entering the room, Sikong Chuyu suddenly turned the tables. He pushed Yang Lei onto the bed and began to take off Yang Lei's skirt. He even pulled Knight Sorrow. Yang Lei resisted for a while, but then she admitted defeat. The meaning of resisting was the same. It was just a matter of who did it first. Besides, she felt that she was Night Sorrow and Sikong Chuyu's elder sister. There were some things that she should take on first. Then, Sikong Chuyu helped Night Sorrow take off his robe. Then, he turned around. Looking at Yang Lei's delicate body, Night Sorrow couldn't care less and pounced on her. Because Yang Lei was already aroused, it wasn't difficult for the two of them to be together. The battle began. Although Night Sorrow and Yang Lei restrained themselves, they were still very loud. This made Sikong Chuyu feel embarrassed. Even his neck was red and his legs were crossed. Yang Lei made Night Sorrow stop. She hugged Night Sorrow's neck and said something. Then, she sat up and pulled Sikong Chuyu onto the bed. They lingered for a long time. Yang Lei, who was lying side by side with Sikong Chuyu and covered with a blanket, asked in confusion, 13, this isn't right. You weren't this strong before. Why can't the two of us do it? I know. He felt sorry for us and felt that we were tired, so he stopped, Sikong Chuyu said in a low voice. Yang Lei thought for a while and nodded. She understood the reason. Then, the three of them rested together. Night Sorrow hugged the two girls and said gratefully, thank you. We are a family. Chuyu is the younger sister. So, senior sister doesn't need to be embarrassed. Anyway, we didn't embarrass ourselves outside, right? Yang Lei said in a low voice. Yes, I don't mind either. Sikong Chuyu nodded. After hearing the two girls' words, Night Sorrow suddenly felt that he had nothing to say. He could feel the love from the two girls. Looking at the silent Night Sorrow, Sikong Chuyu said, Night Sorrow, didn't you treat us with sincerity? That's why we love you so much. I understand. Night Sorrow nodded. Yang Lei said, love is mutual. If you can do anything for us, we can do the same. Let's rest. Tomorrow, we will go to the Shantian Tower to take a look. Night Sorrow nodded. Chuyu, didn't you say that the Shantian Tower can improve the power of the soul? We should go through a few more levels and earn more. Sikong Chuyu said, but the price of the Shantian Tower is quite high. Chapter 481. Genius 1 second. Remember love go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Ninth senior sister, you really dare to dream. That's the #1 spirit treasure in the Qingtian region. Who doesn't want to move home? But who can do it? If they could, they would have moved home long ago. Why would they wait for me? Night Sorrow said with a smile. He knew that this was Yang Lei. She had a straightforward personality and said what she thought. She never hid anything. Baidu search AI go female sign shao say www.aichuxs.com. Ninth senior sister understands this, but there are some things that you can't think of. For example, there are many people who like Chuyu. They all want to hug the beauty. If you don't want to do it, why would Chuyu lie beside you? Isn't ninth senior sister the same? Who can say for sure about fate? Perhaps the Shantian Tower is fated to be with you, Yang Lei said. Night Sorrow, ninth senior sister's words are a bit extreme, but they still make sense. If you don't dare to think about it, there is no possibility of success. Think about it and then do it. As for the result, don't think about it first. Sikong Chuyu said with a smile. Although she felt that there was no hope, she felt that Yang Lei's words were reasonable. Okay, then let's rest first. Night Sorrow nodded. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu believed in something. Even if it was wrong, he wouldn't refute it. After resting for a night, Night Sorrow and the others were eating breakfast when Guoxiao came with Lan Yuxuan behind him. Greetings, Lord Chief Supervisor. Night Sorrow got up and bowed. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu also bowed slightly. Guoxiao looked at Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu and then said to Night Sorrow, you're welcome. Although I know them, it's only on paper. You have to introduce them to me. Night Sorrow introduced Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu to Guo Xiao and introduced Guo Xiao's identity. Sikong Chuyu, the only daughter of the Sikong clan's third young master, Sikong Tianding. I know of her extraordinary talent. Yang Lei. Medicine Valley's earth-shaking hand, Yu Yang Yu's ninth disciple. This is also our Tianji Tower's misjudgment, but fortunately, the results are good. I'm in charge of both the inspection department and the supervision department. A Tier 4 expert can serve as an inspector, while a Tier 5 expert can serve as an inspector. However, an inspector is very busy, and I don't think you have much time. Why don't you join the supervision department? Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao say www.aichuxs.com will follow the chief supervisor's decision. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu both bowed. A Tier 5 supervisor's cultivation is a bit low, and there aren't any missions at the moment. You just have to cultivate diligently. Supervisor Lan, bring them to exchange their tokens later. Guo Xiao said to Lan Yuxuan. This subordinate understands. Lan Yuxuan nodded. Night Sorrow, Tianji Tower's development objective is to put people first, and it's also a place that values relationships and morals. You don't have to feel any pressure or burden. In your heart, the interests of Eastern Xian region are very important. We understand this, so we'll make the appropriate arrangements. Guo Xiao looked at Night Sorrow and said. Many thanks for Lord Chief Supervisor's understanding. Night Sorrow is really grateful. After listening to Guo Xiao's words, Night Sorrow felt a lot more at ease in his heart. When you feel at ease, your heart will be at peace. In addition, if there's a problem between you and her that needs to be resolved, then let this lord know. This lord is still very willing to make a decision for the young people of Tianji Tower and contribute to your future. Guo Xiao looked at Sikong Chuyu and said. Night Sorrow and the other two bowed again to express their gratitude. What Guo Xiao said was exactly what Night Sorrow was worried about. After that, Guo Xiao left Lan Yuxuan behind and left. Chief Supervisor rarely comes out. It can be seen that you value Lord very much. Lan Yuxuan said. Supervisor Lan, you don't have to be so polite. I already said yesterday that you can just call me by my name. Night Sorrow said. Lan Yuxuan nodded with a smile. She also hoped to get along with Night Sorrow more harmoniously. If she called him Lord, their relationship would indeed become more distant. After that, Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu followed Lan Yuxuan to deal with the issue of their identities. Night Sorrow did not follow them. Instead, he stayed in the mansion to cultivate. The two women only returned at noon. Did it go smoothly? Night Sorrow, who kept his reincarnation spear, asked. It went very smoothly. We treated Sister Lan, who is also Supervisor Lan, to a meal. We will be under her command in the future. However, she asked us to call her Sister Lan. Sikong Chuyu said. It will be more convenient for us to be under her command. Night Sorrow thought for a while and said. Actually, it's just a title. The lowest cultivation base of a supervisor is the late void inquiry stage. We are not qualified yet. Yang Lei said. That's not bad. With a position, we will be more free. Night Sorrow nodded with a smile. Yang Lei shook her head. The two of us are just borrowing your glory. It's a little late today. I guess the two of you are tired. We won't go to the Shantian Tower. Let's go tomorrow. Night Sorrow changed the topic of Yang Lei. Chuyu, did you see that? 13 is changing the topic. He is afraid that we will be embarrassed. However, it's not embarrassing to borrow the glory of our man. We are also willing to do so. Yang Lei said with a smile. Yes. Night Sorrow is also much more tactful now. Sikong Chuyu nodded. After that, the two women practiced their combat techniques. Night Sorrow began to concoct pills. He had obtained a lot of materials in the death space and also exchanged for some materials in the East Garden City. he planned to concoct all of them into pills. He concocted pills until the sky turned dark. Only then did Night Sorrow stop to have supper with the two women. KV Most. New C Chapter Top, Chuyu, how far is this place from the Grand Clarity Domain? Night Sorrow asked. It's not far. The Grand Clarity Domain is connected to the Qingtian Domain to the north, the Namli Domain to the south, the Taiyue Domain to the east, and the Three Origin Domain to the west. Sikong Chuyu was very familiar with the geography of the 9 domains. Then Sikong Chuyu explained the geography of the 9 domains to Night Sorrow. The Qingtian Domain was in the middle. The Taiyue Domain and the Eastern Profound Domain were in the east. The Grand Clarity Domain and the Namli Domain were in the south. The Three Origin Domain and the Western Nether Domain were in the west. The Unbounded Desolation and the Northern Sea region were in the north. Night Sorrow pondered for a moment. That means the northeast corner of the Grand Clarity Domain and the southwest corner of the Eastern Profound Domain are very close? Yes. This is certain. What do you mean? I understand. Sikong Chuyu understood why Night Sorrow asked this question. If you have time, make a detailed map. Otherwise, I'll be an idiot, Night Sorrow said. When we go to the Shantian Tower, let's take a look at the trade street. There's nothing you can't buy on the trade street. Of course, you have to have hard currency, Sikong Chuyu said. That's not a problem. Does our 13 lack spirit stones? Yang Lei said with a smile. Night Sorrow took out the spirit item catalog that Feng Chen had left behind and looked at it with Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. I'm more interested in the trade street. We had good luck in East Park City, so I hope we can keep it in Qingtian City. Come, let's look at the spirit item catalog. This way, we can recognize the good stuff and don't be blind. Chapter 482. Genius 1 Second Remember Love Go Shao. It provides you with interesting novels to read. The things recorded in this handbook are very complete. Many of them are rare. After memorizing them, you won't miss anything in the future. Sikong Chuyu opened her mouth and said. That's right, Sikong Chuyu said. So let's take a look. We can't do things like being blind. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Picking up scraps is also an opportunity. For example, we met that guy who had the Void Dao Stone. He got the opportunity but couldn't grasp it and it slipped away. If he didn't have enough luck, he wouldn't be able to enjoy some rare natural treasures. Sikong Chuyu said. After the three of them were almost done studying the handbook, they made tea and went back to their rooms to cultivate. During this period of time, they had been rushing on their journey. However, Night Sorrow did not neglect his cultivation. Currently, his true qi cultivation had already reached the late void inquiry stage. After working hard for a while, he would be able to reach the peak of the void inquiry stage. His cultivation of the myriad Dao text had also improved very quickly. He was also very close to the peak of the first level Dao seeking realm. After sensing his own cultivation base, Night Sorrow felt that his innate talent in cultivation might indeed be quite good because Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu were still at the mid-void inquiry stage. Everyone's cultivation time and resources were about the same. Such a gap could only be explained by innate talent. Moreover, Night Sorrow cultivated the myriad Dao text, the power of his bloodline and the power of his soul at the same time. After cultivating for an entire night, Night Sorrow washed up and woke up early to practice his spear techniques. After the two ladies came out and had breakfast, the three of them went out to the streets. After leaving the residential area of the Tianji Tower, the three of them took off their masks in a corner where there was no one around. Sikong Chuyu put on her veil. The three of them sat on Night Sorrow's Tianyu and flew towards the Shantian Tower. The core area of Sky-bearing City was near the Shantian Tower. The City Lord's mansion was there. The Tianji Tower's branch in Sky-bearing region was also in that area. That area was also the place with the most shops, as well as a trading street. Sky-bearing City is the royal city of the Sky-bearing region. All the sects with some strength have strongholds and shops here. The Gu family has a large sphere of influence in Sky-bearing City, and so does the Sikong family. So be careful. If there are any problems, block them for me, Sikong Chuyu said. Night Sorrow and Yang Lei nodded. If Sikong Chuyu met someone he knew, he would need someone to stop him. When they arrived near the Shantian Tower, the three got off their mounts. Night Sorrow put away the Tianyu, and then under the guidance of the two women, they began to go shopping. Shopping was a woman's nature. She was interested in everything she saw, and Night Sorrow was her companion. Night Sorrow was not interested in the shops on the street. The shops were all very formatted, and the items were almost the same. They were all goods that everyone needed. Night Sorrow was not interested in the things that everyone needed. He liked the way street stalls traded. It felt casual, and he could bargain as much as he wanted. There were also all kinds of goods. After walking through a long trading street, the three entered a plaza. This was the trading area, a more casual one. Night Sorrow did not call out Sikong Chuyu's name. He only said one word, "Feather, why don't you enter some of the shops?" Sikong Chuyu smiled and said, "There are signs on the signs. Those are the businesses of the two I mentioned. I don't want to cause trouble, so I won't go in. There are so many shops on the trading street anyway." After entering the trading area, the three began to stare at the stalls. First, Night Sorrow bought a huge map of the 9-domain world. Because it was very detailed, Night Sorrow spent 3 high-grade spirit stones. However, Night Sorrow felt that the spirit stones were worth it. The map was very detailed. The ancient sect ruins, the current sect location, and the Medicine Valley were all carved on it. Night Sorrow felt that this map could be used for a long time. 3 high-grade spirit stones were nothing. Then, the three continued to stroll. As long as there were rare herbs and ores, Night Sorrow would use elixirs to barter or spirit stones to buy them. Night Sorrow wanted to study alchemy techniques, and alchemy materials were indispensable. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu followed behind him. Night Sorrow also saw Lan Yuxuan. Lan Yuxuan was wearing a mask and was quite a distance away from the two of them. Night Sorrow and the others didn't greet Lan Yuxuan because she was wearing a mask. They also knew that Lan Yuxuan's purpose was to protect the three of them. Then, Night Sorrow stopped. A vendor's shouting attracted Night Sorrow's attention. This was a rather sloppy old peddler. Looking at his lethargic appearance, Yishang knew that he didn't have much lifespan left. However, what made Yishang feel strange was that everyone else ignored this peddler. The old man was peddling a piece of crystal. "Brother, don't mind him. He's just an old swindler. His lifespan is nearing its end, causing his heart to collapse. He said that the crystal is a water attribute crystal king. It's just a big crystal. Is there a need to act like that?" A man walked past Night Sorrow and reminded Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded to the man to express his gratitude. However, he didn't leave. He had just used his soul force to scan the so-called water attribute crystal king. In addition to the water attribute, he also found an energy that could resist the probing of soul force. Night Sorrow once again probed with his soul force and found the power of law. This meant that it wasn't a crystal stone. No matter what it was, as long as it contained the power of law, it was a good thing. Update T new our fastest up X, how much are you selling it? Night Sorrow asked. Spirit liquid, I only want spirit liquid, spirit spring spirit liquid. The old man said excitedly. He didn't have much lifespan left, so if he wanted to prolong his life, spirit spring spirit liquid was the best thing. Of course, spirit spring spirit liquid was of a higher grade than spirit spring spirit liquid, but it wasn't known by others. How many drops? Night Sorrow asked. Night Sorrow was the first to go to the void domain. Tianji Tower had given him a bottle of spirit spring spirit liquid, but he had already used it up. Some time ago, when he was fighting against the dark creatures in Broken Cloud Mountain, Leihua had given him another bottle. 30 drops, no, 40 drops. The old man looked at Night Sorrow with excitement. Then keep it for yourself. Night Sorrow coldly snorted. First of all, not to mention the value of this crystal stone, when the old man heard that Night Sorrow had Spirit Spring Spirit Liquid, he directly raised the price. This made Night Sorrow very disgusted. Not to mention that he was a cultivator, even if he was a businessman, he couldn't be so shameless. Then 30 drops. The old man quickly changed his words. 15 drops. One more drop, you can keep it company with you. Night Sorrow glanced at the old man and fiercely raised the price. His words were also somewhat sharp. In the past, Night Sorrow's character wasn't like this, but the old man's treacherous style had aroused his disgust. All right. I'll sell it. The old man's facial muscles twitched as he made a decision. No matter how valuable this crystal stone was, it wasn't as important as his life. The Spirit Spring Spirit Liquid was something he could use to prolong his life. Night Sorrow took out the Spirit Spring Spirit Liquid and poured 15 drops into an empty bottle under the old man's nervous eyes. He then handed it to the old man and kept the crystal stone that didn't look very valuable. Holding it in his hand, Night Sorrow knew that he had made a profit again. This was an incomplete water-attributed Saint Crystal. Of course, Saint Crystals didn't contain much energy. Most of it was rule force, so ordinary people wouldn't be able to discover it. Chapter 483. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Sorry. I'm not selling it. Night Sorrow put the broken Saint Crystal into his storage ring. What a joke. It was fine if he didn't recognize it, but how could Night Sorrow sell it when he recognized it as a Saint Crystal, even if it was broken? The Sikong Chuyu was of the water attribute, so the more the better. The source stone contained the law of the water attribute, but it wasn't comprehensive. If he supplemented it with a Saint Crystal, the possibility of the Sikong Chuyu entering the Saint realm in the future would be greater. I'll pay double. The old man in a green robe said. I won't sell it even if it's several times the price. Sorry. Night Sorrow refused again and got up to leave. He knew that the old man was very strong. He couldn't see his cultivation, so he might be a venerable. If one's soul power wasn't strong enough, or if one didn't have enough knowledge, they wouldn't be able to recognize the Saint Crystal. I'll take it. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Seeing that Night Sorrow didn't give him any face, the old man blocked Night Sorrow's way. At the same time, he was a little angry. How can you buy it by force? What's the difference between this and robbery? Can you rob everyone here just because you want it? Night Sorrow looked at the old man in green robe and said. So what? I'm asking you to take out the crystal now, or you'll have to bear the consequences. The old man narrowed his eyes and looked at Night Sorrow. There are robberies every year, but I've never seen one on the street. Lan Yushuan walked over. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, Sir from Tianji Tower, you don't have to get involved in this mess, do you? I have a reward for you. The old man in green robe looked at Lan Yushuan and said. I don't need your reward. I can't stand this. You'd better leave before something bad happens. Lan Yushuan's eyes flashed under the mask. If the man in green robe still didn't know when to stop, she would make a move. Leave your name. The green-robed elder looked at Lan Yushuan and then turned to look at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, who are you? Night Sorrow didn't have the habit of hiding his identity. Ji Yuan Dang, you better remember this. Ji and Yuan Dang glanced at Night Sorrow, then stood up and left. He was very angry, but Lan Yushuan's existence made him helpless. Night Sorrow glanced at Yuan Dang's back, then nodded to Lan Yushuan and prepared to leave with the two girls. I won't sell the crystal stones. Seeing that Night Sorrow was about to leave, the old man who had bought the spring water was a bit reluctant. He knew that he might have made a loss, otherwise, Ji and Yuan Dang wouldn't have paid so much. I'm not selling. Do you think I'll stop selling just because you say so? I don't want to stir up trouble. If you want to act shamelessly, I don't mind sending you away before your lifespan ends. Night Sorrow looked at the old man with killing intent in his eyes. This old man had no principles and no bottom line. You still want to kill? Guards, this is a robbery. The old man jumped and said. Can we fight and kill here? Night Sorrow looked at Sikong Chuyu and asked. Yes. Sikong Chuyu nodded. Then why am I still talking nonsense with him? Night Sorrow raised his right hand and pulled out the reincarnation spear from his shoulder. He directly threw out the 7-star glorious moon spear. The spear body carried a strong vibration force. Buzz! The vibration force on the reincarnation spear shook violently, shaking away the long sword that the old man hurriedly pulled out. Then, the spear directly penetrated the old man's forehead. When he withdrew the spear, Night Sorrow shook his wrist and took back the bottle of spirit stone water in the old man's hand. Night Sorrow put the reincarnation spear on his back and threw 2 mid-grade spirit stones at the old man's corpse. Who has the time to collect the corpse? Love go little say W. Chu, however, Yang Lei was very greedy and took off the old man's storage ring. Night Sorrow and the others continued forward. As for the corpse, someone would take care of it. It wouldn't lie there forever. Spirit stones were still very powerful. Then, Night Sorrow continued his treasure hunt. If there were pills and materials, he would exchange them. In any case, he didn't lack pills. Night Sorrow could still make a profit by exchanging pills for materials. That guy has always been there. He hasn't given up and has been following us. Yang Lei said. I know, that thing is very precious. He also discovered the secret. Qingtian City isn't easy to survive in. That guy might be a venerable one. Night Sorrow said. Supervisor Lan has always been behind us. He shouldn't dare to do anything. Yang Lei said. Night Sorrow nodded, but he didn't like this feeling because he couldn't control it. His fate was in the hands of others. The feeling of powerlessness was too strong. They didn't continue shopping. Night Sorrow and the others went directly to the Shantian Tower. When I have time, I'll set up a stall and exchange for good things. Night Sorrow said as he walked. Indeed, the demand for elixirs is the greatest. The things we exchange for are elixirs first and spirit stones later. In addition, there aren't many stalls that sell elixirs. The ones that do sell elixirs have very high prices. Yang Lei nodded. She felt that Yishang's method was feasible. If you have a skill, you won't starve to death. This old saying is true. Sikong Chuyu nodded. Then the 3 of them arrived in front of the Shantian Tower. There was a clean circle around the Shantian Tower. No one set up a stall here. The outer circle was the trading area. It was a prosperous area. However, the Shantian Tower was a holy land. No one was allowed to casually approach or profane it. There were city guards of Qingtian City guarding it. If anyone dared to mess around, they would be killed. Night Sorrow brought the 2 girls to the front gate of the Shantian Tower. There were people guarding it. Night Sorrow told the old guard why they had come, which was to challenge the tower. The old guard looked at Night Sorrow's group and said, First hand over your spirit stones. Below the 40th floor, 1 mid-grade spirit stone per floor. From the 40th to the 50th floor, 1 high-grade spirit stone per floor. From the 50th floor to the 60th floor, 10 high-grade spirit stones per floor. Above the 60th floor, 1 extreme-grade spirit stone per floor. Every floor will double the price. After Night Sorrow paid the price for the 50th floor and below, he asked, For the 3 of us, here are 120 mid-grade spirit stones for the 40th floor and below. These are 30 high-grade spirit stones for the 50th floor. As for after the 50th floor, we don't know how many floors we can reach. What do you say? In order to avoid unnecessary trouble and embarrassment, you have to pay in advance. Remember not to exceed the floor you paid in advance. Otherwise, it will be very unpleasant if you can't make up for it when you come out. Also, after you enter, you will be automatically teleported out in 3 days, the old man said. All right. If I don't use it, can I return the money I paid in advance? Night Sorrow asked. He didn't want to be swindled by others. From the actions of Ji-Yu's family members and that peddler, he knew that the Qingtian city was very chaotic. Yes, there is no problem. No one dares to look down on the city lord Manor's reputation, the old man said. Night Sorrow directly took out 150 high-grade spirit stones. Pay in advance first. I'll calculate the amount when I come out. The old man nodded at Night Sorrow and took out 3 jade tablets. He handed them to Night Sorrow's group. The Xiantian Tower's monitoring system was similar to the Thunder Tower. Chapter 484. Geniuses remember love in 1 second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Lan Yuxuan had a comprehensive understanding of Night Sorrow's situation. She knew that Night Sorrow and Ji-Yu's family had a grudge against each other. In addition, she also knew that some members of Ji-Yu's family wanted to kill Night Sorrow. Coupled with Ji-Yu's family's overbearing style, Lan Yuxuan didn't dare to let down her guard. In Tianji Tower, the treatment of members and the rules they had to abide by were different. For those who were recruited from the periphery, if they were trained beyond their limits, the requirements would be stricter. Of course, if they got something, they would have to pay a price. The reason was very simple. If they didn't create corresponding value and wanted to be trained further, they had to work harder. Many supervisors and guardians were like this. In order to get resources that they weren't qualified to use, they had to give up some freedom. Lan Yuxuan was the same. As a venerable, she needed a lot of cultivation resources. In order to get resources, she had to work hard. At present, the task that Tianji Tower had arranged for Lan Yuxuan was to be Night Sorrow's personal subordinate. She had to protect Night Sorrow and communicate with him. Night Sorrow and the other 2 took the jade tokens and started to challenge the tower. After Night Sorrow and the other 2 entered the tower, Jiyu came to the old man in the cyan robe. Cousin, these 3 people have started to challenge the tower? Yes, Yuan Dang is here. Why do you look so pale? The old man in the cyan robe asked. His name was Jiyu Yuanhang, and he was a member of Jiyu's family. I missed a big opportunity. It was ruined by Tianji Tower's people. The thing is in that boy's hands. Jiyu Yuandang snorted coldly. These 3 young people are not simple. They are rich and took out a lot of spirit stones. They paid 150 high-grade spirit stones in advance. They should be from a big family, Jiyu Yuanhang said. 150 high-grade spirit stones in advance? What kind of method is this? Jiyu Yuandang was a little confused. 150 high-grade spirit stones was not a small number. He only had this much wealth, and he had accumulated it for countless years. What kind of opportunity is it? Why do you value it so much? Asked Jiyu Yuanhang. If cousin is not mistaken, it should be Saint Crystals. I offered him 3 times the price but he refused to sell, so I should be right. Jiyu and Yuan Dang hesitated for a moment before saying. Don't do anything for now. There are powerful warriors from Tianji Tower over there, which means these 3 people are not simple. Let's investigate them first. Jiyu Yuanhang glanced at Lan Yuxuan and said. It's as disgusting as eating flies. Love Go Little Say Ku Jiyu and Yuan Dang were very angry. Don't be rash. Being followed by a venerable cultivator is definitely not an ordinary cultivator. If things get out of hand, it won't end well. Jiyu Yuanhang reminded Jiyu. After Night Sorrow entered the Xiantian Tower, he was on guard, but no attack appeared. In front of him was a staircase that extended diagonally. Could it be the same as Danding Cliff? Pressure assessment? Night Sorrow thought for a moment and made a judgment. Holding the reincarnation spear, Night Sorrow stepped on the staircase and walked up. There was pressure, but this pressure was negligible to Night Sorrow. There were about 50 steps on the staircase, and at the end of the staircase was an oval-shaped energy door. After walking to the end, Night Sorrow directly stepped into it. Night Sorrow walked up step by step. This place might be pressuring for cultivators in the Chi refinement realm, but for Night Sorrow, it was no different from an ordinary environment. The 10th floor was more comfortable, and it was a small space with richer energy. Night Sorrow did not stop, because it was meaningless. If he cultivated here and relied on this level of spiritual energy to advance, he would have to cultivate for dozens of years. Standing on the stairs of the 11th floor, Night Sorrow felt for a moment and found that the pressure was indeed targeted at cultivators in the Chi-gathering realm. The pressure only existed on the stairs. If one did not go up the stairs, they would not feel the pressure. Putting away the reincarnation spear, Night Sorrow continued to move forward. The low-level assessment was meaningless to Night Sorrow, and the rewards were meaningless as well. The spiritual stones that he handed over were actually the toll. As he continued to move forward, Night Sorrow reached the 40th floor. The energy on the 40th floor was already relatively rich, but Night Sorrow did not stop. The levels below the 50th floor were meaningless to him. He was aiming to improve his soul, and he would only have the opportunity to improve his soul after reaching the 50th floor. Night Sorrow continued to move forward. He did not know about Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu's situation. In this kind of assessment of perseverance, true chi, and physical strength, the two girls were definitely not as good as him. However, he felt that they were still stronger than the others. Since Yang Lei could cultivate the heaven-covering hand, her physical strength was much stronger than ordinary cultivators. In the Medicine Valley, other than Night Sorrow, she was the second person who cultivated the heaven-covering hand. As for Sikong Chuyu, she used to be delicate. Now, she also looked slim and weak. However, her body had been transformed by the sky-blue water attribute. Her physical quality was also incomparable to other cultivators. Resisting the pressure, Night Sorrow's myriad Dao Tome had a great advantage. Very soon, he rushed to the 50th floor. Without any hesitation, Night Sorrow continued to move forward. Every floor corresponded to a corresponding level. The 50th floor corresponded to the early void inquiry stage. However, Night Sorrow felt that the corresponding level was not accurate. There was at least a suppression of 2 levels. In other words, one would need to be at least second void inquiry stage to reach the 50th floor. After taking a deep breath, Night Sorrow went up the stairs and walked towards the oval-shaped energy on the 51st floor. When Night Sorrow went up the stairs, the pressure hit him in the face. The pressure was already very strong, but he still did not care. He protected his body with true chi and walked up. After entering the 52nd floor, Night Sorrow pondered for a while. Without resting, he continued to move forward. The Shantian Tower still gave the challengers a chance to take a breather. When they just entered the next floor, they could meditate to recover. As long as they did not go up the stairs, there would be no pressure. Feeling that he did not consume much of his energy, Night Sorrow got up and continued to move forward. When he reached the 53rd floor, Night Sorrow meditated beside the stairs to recover. He had not stopped moving forward. Night Sorrow's energy consumption was quite large. Other than that, he did feel that his soul power had been improved. It started from the 51st floor. Among the energy rushing forward, there was a milky white silk-like energy rushing towards his spirit sea. After the milky white energy entered his spirit sea, it began to strengthen Night Sorrow's soul power. This kind of milky white silk-like energy was different from the energy extracted from the soul crystals. Night Sorrow felt that his soul power did not improve. It was just the quality of his soul that had changed. Look at section JK_1 of chapter D+ of the original version. For this made Night Sorrow realize that the rumored energy that could change one's soul power was still very powerful. As he continued forward, Night Sorrow slowly sensed the deity see's situation and adjusted his speed. Night Sorrow wasn't worried that he would miss out on anything. If he failed in the Thunder Tower, he would have lost the opportunity to return and continue cultivating. However, this place was different. This was a stair mode. If he couldn't withstand it, he could retreat. Night Sorrow planned to break through to his limit and then cultivate at his limit. This was something he could control. Although the pressure of moving forward was great, Night Sorrow was able to reach the 56th step by relying on his own strength and the assistance of his primary energy. However, he was unable to hold on any longer. Chapter 485. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go divided by Shao. We provide you with interesting novels to read. After reaching the 56th floor, Night Sorrow stopped and stood in front of the stairs leading to the 57th floor. Night Sorrow began to ponder. Love Go divided by Shao Shao Shua www.aichux. Currently, Night Sorrow had to endure double pressure, which was the impact of ordinary energy and the impact of soul power. Only when his body and spirit C could withstand it could he continue moving forward. After sorting out his thoughts, Night Sorrow went up the stairs and continued moving forward. At this moment, not only did he circulate his true Qi, the Myriad Tao treasure tome was also activated. At the same time, the soul power in his spirit C was also circulating at full speed, refining the energy that entered his spirit C. He refined as much as he could. The energy in the Shantian Tower was slowly pressing into his spirit C. Night Sorrow's incorporeal heavenly fate bead did not block it. When the incorporeal heavenly fate bead protects its owner, the owner would have to face a violent impact, which was a conscious soul power attack. However, the energy here did not have such characteristics. Night Sorrow moved forward step by step. The energy pressed down on him like waves, but it still could not stop him from moving forward. Forever read novels for free at this moment. Jiu Yuanhang, who was in charge of guarding the Shantian Tower, had a solemn expression. Avoid inquiry stage cultivator reaching the 56th floor. Brother Yuan Dang, this person is definitely not simple. If you know his name, go investigate and report it to the clan. Remember, don't act recklessly. Cousin Yuan Hang, if they come out, send someone to follow them. Don't let them escape. That thing is very important to me. Ji Yuan Hang said. All right. Go ahead. Ji Yuan Hang nodded. He knew that this matter was not simple. It was already very difficult to maintain the same number of floors in the Shantian Tower. It was almost impossible to skip levels. However, Night Sorrow had already skipped 2 levels and was already on par with the record. He could not ignore it even if he wanted to. Ji Yuanhang was a member of the City Lord Mansion. However, he would always report valuable information and benefits to the Ji clan first. Baidu search AI Go female sign Shao say www.aichuxs. Xiaom, the current city lord of sky-bearing city, was Ji Fenglan of the Ji family, but Ji Fenglan had not shown himself for many years. Ji family was indeed powerful in the city leader mansion, but it was not powerful enough to cover the sky with one hand. Therefore, the city leader mansion and Ji family were still 2 different things. Lan Yushuan was still waiting for Night Sorrow and the other 2. She knew that Ji family had made some moves, but she wasn't afraid. Lan Yushuan wasn't afraid of the 2 Ji family members. Tianji Tower wasn't afraid of Ji family. If there was a battle, she could send out a signal, and Tianji Tower's people would arrive. Night Sorrow continued to move forward. Beads of sweat dripped down from his face. When it came to ordinary energy attacks, Night Sorrow had the Myriad Tao Tome and Jin Qi to resist them. However, the pressure from soul energy was too great. Night Sorrow had reached the 57th floor, but he had also reached his limit. The Shantian Tower's soul attack was truly tyrannical, but as long as one could withstand it, their soul power would improve greatly. When he reached the 57th floor, Night Sorrow sat down cross-legged and began to recover. He didn't need to use any resources to recover here. The energy here was very rich, almost the same as 7,000 meters above Danding Cliff. After meditating for an hour, Night Sorrow had recovered to his peak. He sensed his soul power and found that the quality of his soul power had improved greatly. The milky white soul power emitted a soft and perfect luster. Night Sorrow felt that the spirit stones were well spent. The improvement of the quality of his soul power was priceless. In addition, this place was also a holy land for cultivation. After cultivating for a while, Night Sorrow stood up. A rich cultivation environment was hard to come by for others, but it was nothing for Night Sorrow. With the help of the spiritual liquid and elixirs, Night Sorrow's cultivation speed had been maintained at a high speed. Therefore, Night Sorrow didn't care about the rich cultivation environment. However, the improvement of the quality of his soul power was important. It was the foundation, so he had to make a breakthrough. Night Sorrow stood up and stepped onto the stairs. He began to endure the energy pouring into his body and cultivate. After taking a few steps, Night Sorrow discovered that his soul power was no longer accepting the changes of the Shantian Tower's soul energy. In other words, his soul power had reached perfection. Discovering this, Night Sorrow controlled his soul power to quickly revolve and refine the energy entering his divine sea. He began to improve his soul power. The appearance of this situation increased Night Sorrow's ability to resist pressure. After an hour, Night Sorrow reached the 58th floor. However, his body was soaked in sweat, and he had used up all of his energy. Night Sorrow knew that it would be very difficult for him to reach the 59th floor, but he didn't plan on giving up. He would charge as far as he could, and when he reached his limit, he would cultivate. After cultivating for an hour on the 58th floor and recovering to his peak state, Night Sorrow got up and went up the stairs. He didn't know that at this time, a shadow had appeared in the space and was observing him. Night Sorrow had to bear a lot of pressure with every step he took. However, he could still persevere. He knew that perseverance meant gains. When he was 10 steps away from the 59th floor, the pressure suddenly surged. He had to reach the 59th floor. With a low roar, Night Sorrow used his bloodline talent and used space crack. He wanted to cut open the turbulent flow of energy and reduce the impact of the pressure. Following the hissing sound, Yishang's spatial ren tore open a crack in the pressure energy. Then, Yishang used a second spatial rend. After using the spatial rend, he stepped onto the 59th floor. After entering the 59th floor, Night Sorrow directly fell to the ground. His true chi and the myriad Tao Tome's energy were completely exhausted. Even standing was difficult. After gasping for a while, Night Sorrow sat down cross-legged and began cultivating. At this time, in front of the Shantian Tower, Jiyu Yuanheng, who was in charge of guarding the tower, had a gloomy look on his face. Night Sorrow had already broken the tower's record. Before, the record was 2 levels higher than himself, but when Night Sorrow entered the 59th floor, Night Sorrow's record was 5 levels higher than himself. This record was destined to shock everyone. Jiyu Yuanheng felt that if he couldn't bring someone like Night Sorrow under his control, he would be a great threat. At this time, Jiyu Yuandang had also returned. Night Sorrow had spent 6 to 8 hours in the tower, and during this time, he had already collected all the information. Then, he told Jiyu Yuanheng about the situation. In other words, he's a potential enemy of our Jiyu family. We can't let him live. Jiyu Yuanheng's face showed a murderous look. When he comes out, I'll kill him, said Jiyu Yuandang with a vicious look. No, he's so outstanding. He must have a lot to do with Tianji Tower. If you kill him, you'll be in a lot of trouble. Go to the family and summon some men of sacrifice. Kill him at the cost of a few men of sacrifice, Jiyu Yuanheng said. In terms of experience, Jiyu Yuandang was much worse than him, so he had thought it through thoroughly. Jiyu Yuandang nodded and left. However, Lan Yushuan saw all this. She had seen Jiyu Yuandang show up twice, so she became even more cautious. If she still didn't know that Night Sorrow was in danger, she would be an idiot. She wouldn't have become a supervisor of Tianji Tower. Chapter 486. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow rested for a while, stretched his waist, and looked at the stairs leading to the 60th floor. At this time, he was very calm. Being able to reach this level meant that he was at the peak of the 5th rank. This was enough for him. Night Sorrow stepped on the stairs, intending to continue. When he reached his limit, he would begin to meditate. Night Sorrow had just stepped on the stairs when the violent energy bombardment began. He did not move forward, but stood in place and endured, not being rushed down. At this time, Night Sorrow saw an unusual phenomenon. An energy shadow appeared 6 or 7 meters in front of him, waving its arms and controlling the energy to attack Night Sorrow. Energy guard? Although Night Sorrow was surprised, he did not think it was strange. He had seen many energy guards in the Thunder Tower. Unfortunately, he was far away from this energy shadow and could not attack it at close range. He wanted to fight it, but the impact of the energy made it impossible for him to cross the distance of 6 or 7 meters. Controlled by the energy shadow, the energy went berserk, constantly attacking Night Sorrow. At this time, there was an extremely strong soul energy attack. It was automatically blocked by the Void Fate Pearl, which protected its master, outside of Night Sorrow's spirit sea. Love go little say W, chew without the hindrance of his soul being attacked. Night Sorrow's feet landed on the ground as if he had taken root. At the same time, he took out the sky-piercing spear with ice serpent tendons. After infusing it with vibration energy, it flew toward the energy shadow. Vibration energy was the most effective when attacking energy bodies. The strong vibration would make the energy body unstable, and the damage was the highest. Night Sorrow held 4 sky-piercing spears with ice serpent tendons in both hands and attacked the energy shadow alternately. The energy shadow was hit several times by Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spears, but it was not affected much. The energy shadow retreated 6 meters, out of Night Sorrow's attack range. At this moment, Night Sorrow activated his innate bloodline ability and unleashed a spatial rend. Night Sorrow's spatial rend was much more powerful now that his soul power had reached perfection. It was as if the spatial rend had pierced through space and struck the energy phantom. Being struck by the energy of the space crack, the energy figure shook. Because the energy figure was affected by the attack, the energy suppressing Night Sorrow was greatly reduced. Stomping his foot, Night Sorrow charged forward. As he did so, Night Sorrow fired another spatial rend. The space rend energy slash, which seemed to have broken through the restraints of space, directly cut the energy figure's body. It made the energy figure's body shake again. K is the only official version. V5, all other Qs are pirated QS at this moment. Night Sorrow had also arrived in front of the energy figure. Night Sorrow, who no longer suppressed his attributes, poured his incorporeal true energy into his reincarnation spear. He executed the 7 stars brilliant moon spear art and began to attack the energy figure. Void attribute. It's actually the void attribute. I'm not fighting anymore. The energy figure spoke in human language and retreated a few meters. Then, it waved its arm and the energy of the entire 59th floor gathered on its body. With all the energy gathered on the energy figure, Night Sorrow no longer felt any pressure. At the same time, the energy figure also became clearer. It was a girl of about 11 or 12 years old. The energy even transformed into a small green skirt that covered her body. It seems like you have intelligence. I'm sorry for hurting you just now. Can I enter the next floor? Night Sorrow asked. He felt that if he defeated the guard, he would be able to enter the next floor. Yes, but there's no hurry. I have something to tell you. If you agree, then everything will be easy. The girl looked at Night Sorrow and said. Say it. Night Sorrow put away his reincarnation spear and took out a jar of wine to drink. We can be friends, but you can't bully me. The girl said. That's not a problem. Of course, I can promise you. Night Sorrow said with some bewilderment. Then I can tell you. I'm the artifact spirit here. Because half of my attributes are the same as yours, I'll follow you from now on. Remember what you said, you can't bully me. The girl walked to Night Sorrow's side and said. You're not an energy guard. You're the artifact spirit of the Shantian Tower. Night Sorrow said with some shock. What energy guard? This spirit isn't. Also, the Shantian Tower sounds terrible. This spirit is the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. The Shantian Tower is a name that you cultivators randomly came up with. The girl in green said. Spacetime Treasure Pagoda, what kind of concept is that? Night Sorrow asked. It's a spirit treasure with the time and space attributes. The girl in green said. Then what should I call you? Night Sorrow asked. Just call me Little Kong. You're not bad. Not only is your soul power perfect, you also have the space attribute, which has reached the standard I set. If you didn't reach this standard, I wouldn't have appeared. In addition, you also have the Supreme Void attribute, which is very powerful. Little Kong sized up Night Sorrow and said. In other words, if you follow me in the future, I can use this Spacetime Treasure Pagoda? Night Sorrow asked. This was the question he was most concerned about. As long as you don't bully me, it's fine. I can listen to you and help you do some things, but you have to take me with you. Little Kong seemed to be closer to Night Sorrow. But I can't. If I take you with me now, I'll be hunted down. It'll be very miserable. Night Sorrow said while rubbing his forehead. If Night Sorrow took the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda, the Qingtian region would be turned upside down. The Qingtian region's city lord mansion would hunt him down in the 9 regions and 18 prefectures. If anyone wants to kill you, you can use me to kill them. But that won't do. Your strength is too low. Little Kong looked at Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow blushed. He was actually looked down upon by the Shantian Pagoda, or rather, the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda's artifact spirit. He was probably the first in the 9 regions and 18 prefectures. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that if he wanted to take away the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda, he could only steal it. If he stole the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda without anyone noticing, it would be impossible to swagger away. How about this? You stay here and don't worry. I'll take you away later. But if I don't enter the pagoda, how can I communicate with you? Night Sorrow asked. That's not a problem. Send a strand of your soul power to me, and then I'll give you a strand of origin energy. This way, we can communicate at any time. However, we can't communicate too far away. Otherwise, it won't work. Little Kong said. Then, Night Sorrow sent a strand of his soul power into Little Kong's energy body. Following that, Little Kong sent a strand of origin energy into Night Sorrow's divine sea. After Little Kong's origin energy entered Night Sorrow's divine sea, Night Sorrow found that Little Kong's thoughts appeared in his mind. Don't let anyone find out about this. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome. Night Sorrow reminded Little Kong. I'm not afraid. Even if I'm found out, others will find trouble with you. Once I seal the pagoda, who can do anything to me? Little Kong looked at Night Sorrow with a strange gaze. If he used Night Sorrow's feelings, it would be disdain or even a joke. Chapter 487. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Original C initial R, sent C, you're strong. Oh right, I have 2 other companions who are also challenging the tower. They are 2 women. Night Sorrow asked about Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. They're all cultivating on the 54th floor. The 2 of them are not bad, Shao Kong answered directly. That's good. I'll discuss the plan to sneak you away, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. The biggest problem lies in the fact that there is an expert at the top of the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. Otherwise, I could have easily defeated the guards around it, Shao Kong said as he raised his head. What's going on? Night Sorrow asked with a frown. It's an old man. He has a spiritual treasure. Using that spiritual treasure, he's currently hovering above my true body. He's using my true body to absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth to cultivate there. He's taking advantage of me. I've been tolerating him because of the spiritual stones, Shao Kong said. I don't know much about spirit stones. Night Sorrow shook his head. It's like this. If I open the tower to the outside world, they have to feed me spirit stones. In fact, the energy consumed by the people who challenge the tower is 1/3 of the energy they feed me. I still have some profit. So, looking at their spirit stones, I didn't move. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to bear the bastards above. Shao Kong said. Then what should we do? Night Sorrow was at a loss. That's right. I can't harm you. That guy is at the peak of the Paragon realm. If we don't get rid of him, it'll be troublesome. Shao Kong said. Peak Monarch realm, could it be the sky-bearing city lord? Night Sorrow narrowed his eyes in thought. I don't know about that, Shao Kong said. You have the dual attributes of time and space. Can't you break through space? Or is there any other way? Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. I can. But after entering the spatial crack, if I can't fix the location with you, we'll be pulled away by the spatial turbulence. If we fly directly, we won't be able to escape the seal of the old man above. Shao Kong said after thinking for a while. That's a problem. Night Sorrow was helpless. If he couldn't solve the problem, he wouldn't be able to take the space-time treasure pagoda away. Not really. If you can tear space, I can fix the location through the spatial crack. For example, if you tear space twice, I can fix the location the first time. The second time, I can come out of the spatial crack. Shao Kong explained his idea. But I can't right now. Yi Shan rubbed his head and said. Try using your spatial technique again, Shao Kong said to Yi Shan. Although Night Sorrow the spatial crack, the spatial crack, the crack, the spatial crack, the crack, the spatial crack, the crack, the crack, the crack, crack, very quickly closed. I can enter and exit this space crack, but the speed at which it's closing is way too fast. If only I could stabilize it. Lil Kong said with a pout. Steady? Then can I find a venerable to seal the space and slow down the closing of the spatial crack? Night Sorrow asked. Of course. My origin energy is on you. As long as there's a spatial crack, I can feel it. Even if it's small, I'm not afraid. I just need to maintain it for a while. Love go little say W. Chu Shao Kong nodded at Night Sorrow. That's good. I'll find a reliable venerable to help me do this. Night Sorrow said. You have to hurry. I'm worried that the guy above will break through. Many years ago, he was a peak venerable. Who knows when he will enter the Saint Realm? If that's the case, we won't have any chance. Although I can prevent him from recognizing me as his master, it's impossible for me to escape. Shao Kong said. I'll take care of this soon. Don't worry. Night Sorrow patted Shao Kong's shoulder and said. If you help me, I'll help you. I have a lot of abilities. You'll know them slowly. Shao Kong raised her head and looked at Night Sorrow. All right. Let's not expose ourselves. I'll continue to cultivate. You can just teleport us out 3 days later. Night Sorrow said. Let's go to the 60th floor. The energy there is abundant. It's more suitable for cultivation. Shao Kong said to Night Sorrow. It's not suitable. If the people outside know that I've reached the 60th floor with a cultivation base of the 4th level of the Void Inquiry stage, it will be a big joke. It will also attract attention. If I bring you away, it will be easy for me to expose myself. Night Sorrow said. If it wasn't for Shao Kong, Night Sorrow would certainly want to go higher. Now, he had some scruples. If you want them to know, they will know. If you don't want them to know, they won't know. Give me the jade token. let's go up. Shao Kong waved her hand at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow gave the jade token to Shao Kong. Then, under her lead, Night Sorrow entered the 60th floor. The 60th floor was an area that only Venerable Realm experts could reach. The density of the energy there had already reached an extreme level. Shao Kong, the energy in this space of yours is very terrifying. Night Sorrow said. Yes. However, if people keep coming and going, a lot of it will be absorbed away. This is harmful to me. Therefore, even if Venerable Realm experts come, I will control them and stop them below the 60th floor. I also want to cultivate and I don't want others to skin me alive. That's why I want you to bring me away. Shao Kong said. Don't worry. It will definitely work. Night Sorrow comforted Shao Kong and sat down to meditate and begin his cultivation. His cultivation lasted for 2 days. Night Sorrow did not know that the situation outside was already very tense. The death warriors of Ji Yu clan were hiding in the area in front of the Shantian Tower. The patrol captain of the Tianji Tower had also appeared in this area with his men. Lan Yuxuan also showed up directly. This was to deter Ji Yu clan because it was better to avoid war if they could. At this moment, on the top floor of the Tianji Tower, which was not far away from the Spacetime Pagoda, Gua Shao stood with his hands clasped behind his back. Beside him was a man wearing a golden mask. Yao Yang, Night Sorrow is very important to our Tianji Tower. During the days when he is in the Qingtian region, you will protect him secretly. As long as a Venerable Realm expert tries to attack him, kill him. Gua Shao said to the man behind him. Yao Yang understands. The man wearing the golden mask nodded. He was the leader of the 3 gold palace guards, Yao Yang. Currently, our Tianji Tower only has 2 heaven pole emissaries. Therefore, as long as they don't do anything wrong, we will fight any forces for them. Gua Shao said. This subordinate understands. Yao Yang nodded. On Night Sorrow's side, after Shao Kong's reminder, he ended his cultivation. Peak 4th grade void inquiry stage. Shao Kong, this place of yours is indeed a sacred place for cultivation. Night Sorrow said after sensing his cultivation base. You are sucking my blood. However, a small portion of it won't harm me. You can leave now. We can communicate within 20 li asterisk, 500 m per li, of this spacetime pagoda. Shao Kong said to Night Sorrow. Then I'll leave first. I will communicate with you later in the surroundings. Also, I will make the best use of my time to bring you away. Night Sorrow stood up and said. Then I'll wait for your news. If you succeed, I won't have to serve this group of bastards anymore. Also, there are many cultivators with killing intent around the pagoda. Be careful. Take the jade token. Shao Kong threw the jade token to Night Sorrow and said. Perhaps they are the city guards. Night Sorrow tidied up his robe and said. Chapter 488. Geniuses remember love in 1 second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Then, Night Sorrow fell into a trance. When he came back to his senses, he was already standing in front of the gate of the Spacetime Pagoda. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu were standing beside him. How are you two? Night Sorrow asked. Very good. It's indeed much more powerful than the Thunder Tower, Yang Lei said. Let's go. Night Sorrow said and walked towards Ji Yu Yuanhang. I'll pay the bill, Night Sorrow said when he arrived in front of Ji Yu Yuanhang. 2 with the 54th floor and 1 with the 59th floor. Add 20 top-grade crystal stones, Ji Yu Yuanhang said. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He took Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu's jade tablets, then took out 20 top-grade spirit stones and put them on the table in front of Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. After that, he walked out with a surprised look on their faces. Be careful, we're being watched, Night Sorrow said in a low voice. Needless to say, it must be those shameless people from the Ji Yu family, Sikong Chuyu said in a low voice. Let's get closer to Supervisor Lan. Night Sorrow said and moved closer to Lan Yuxuan. So far, he had found a few black-clothed people, whose cultivation bases were higher than his, Yang Lei, and Sikong Chuyu. He didn't want to take the risk. If he was alone, Night Sorrow would have killed them. But now, he was more concerned about the safety of Sikong Chuyu and Yang Lei. Seeing Night Sorrow and the other two coming over, Lan Yuxuan didn't say anything. She just moved her arms, and some people moved, imperceptibly protecting Night Sorrow and the other two. On the other side, Ji Yuanhang shook his head at Ji Yuandang, who was about to make a move. Ji Yuanhang knew that if he made a move now, he wouldn't have the chance to do so, and Tianji Tower would surely retaliate. After leaving for a while, Night Sorrow's group of 3 rode Tianyu and the dark-feathered eagle out of this area. Lan Yuxuan brought some people to bring up the rear and didn't follow. Did you notice? Night Sorrow asked. Yes, there are at least 20 people with murderous intent lurking in the crowd, Sikong Chuyu said. It's not easy to stay in the Qingtian domain. Let's make some preparations and return to the Eastern Xian domain. This Ji family is too shameless. We can't defeat them yet, said Yang Lei. I can't leave. I still have some things to do. Let's go back and talk. Piloting Tianyu, Night Sorrow made sure that no one was following them and flew straight to the mansion district. In the air, the 3 put on their masks and went through the inspection of the Silver Palace guards before returning to the mansion. Night Sorrow, the Ji family is too hateful, Yang Lei said somewhat angrily. It's only a matter of time before we deal with them. Night Sorrow took the 2 girls to the backyard. Why not leave? After entering the backyard, Sikong Chuyu asked while making tea. Because of the Xiantian Tower. It should be called the Spacetime Pagoda, Night Sorrow said. What? Sikong Chuyu's hand trembled and spilled the water. I have to find a way to take the Spacetime Pagoda away, Night Sorrow said to Yang Lei. What do you mean? Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Ninth senior sister, didn't you say that you would take the Xiantian Tower away if you had the chance? The real name of the Xiantian Tower is the Spacetime Pagoda. The problem is, how do you move it? There are so many guards. If I take it away, won't they kill me? Night Sorrow said. You mean that you made the Xiantian Tower? Oh no, the Spacetime Pagoda recognize you as its master? Sikong Chuyu asked. You can say that. We are friends. Her origin body has the power of my soul, and my spirit sea has the power of her origin body. We can communicate. The problem now is how to move it away. Night Sorrow took the tea that Sikong Chuyu handed over with trembling hands. You're really ruthless, Yang Lei said excitedly. I can't believe you actually made my 9th senior sister's joke real. Now, let's think about how we're going to take away the number 1 spiritual treasure of the Qingtian realm. There are many problems. We won't be able to move it away by ourselves. If we want to move it away, we will need the help of a top supremacy. Otherwise, we won't be able to avoid the obstruction of that old man above the Spacetime Pagoda. It will cause a lot of trouble. Night Sorrow explained the situation that Little Kong had told him. It's very difficult. We have 2 choices in front of us. One is to inform Auntie Fei, and we will wait here for news. The other is to report to the Chief Tower Master and ask for his help. The only difference is, Night Sorrow, can you trust the Chief Tower Master? Sikong Chuyu said. This shouldn't be a problem. The upper echelons of Tianji Tower are trustworthy. They are all seniors worthy of respect. How about this? I will go see the Chief Tower Master later and see what he has to say. After all, this is a big matter that might cause a commotion. We have to think about Tianji Tower, Night Sorrow said. Yes, if we don't have a plan, it would be irresponsible of us to cause trouble, Sikong Chuyu said. Alright, you guys wait for me here. I will go to the Sky Pole Dark Palace now, Night Sorrow said as he stood up. Sikong Chuyu and Yang Lei both nodded because this matter was indeed too big. It was so big that it could cause a war. Riding on the sky feather, Yi Shang arrived at the Celestial Peak Pavilion. Holding the token and wearing a mask, Yi Shang arrived at the underground hall of the Celestial Peak Pavilion without any obstructions. Taking off his mask, Knight Sorrow cupped his hands to the Heavenly Star Palace's guard. I want to go to the Dark Palace. Please. Heavenly Star bowed to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow entered the teleportation array and was teleported to the Sky Pole Dark Palace. In the Dark Palace Hall, Knight Sorrow didn't see Lin Yuandao and the others, but there was a supervisor. After the supervisor greeted Knight Sorrow, he said that the K-Lord was out and not in the Dark Palace. When the K-Lord returns, please inform me. I have something important to discuss with the K-Lord, Knight Sorrow said. I will remember Sir's instructions. I will do it well, the supervisor on duty said. All right, Knight Sorrow nodded to the supervisor and left the Dark Palace, returning to his mansion. What did he say? Sikong Chuyu asked. Read the original chapter I on R. I didn't see anyone. Knight Sorrow shook his head and told him about the situation at the Dark Palace. Then let's wait. They will be out for a short time. Let's cultivate and wait, Sikong Chuyu said. Just as they were talking, Lan Yuxuan arrived. Knight Sorrow, the situation isn't good. Ji Yu's family is targeting you, Lan Yuxuan said. I know, but I can only endure it now because I don't have the strength. Knight Sorrow was a little depressed. It's nothing. I came to tell you to be careful. No matter how arrogant Ji Yu's family is, they can't be arrogant to the Tianji Tower, Lan Yuxuan said. The three of us plan to cultivate quietly for a few days. Knight Sorrow said. He didn't want to tell Lan Yuxuan about the space-time pagoda. It wouldn't solve the problem and could easily change. Chapter 489. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go divided by Xiao. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. After sending Lan Yuxuan off, Knight Sorrow asked Kei Xiang to prepare a table of food and wine. Then, the three of them drank to celebrate. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao say www.aichuxs.com 13, you're too scary. Ninth senior sister was just joking, and you made it a reality. That's good enough, Yang Lei said. The problem is that it's not easy to get the space-time pagoda. Moreover, we'll owe them a favor, Knight Sorrow said. There's nothing we can do about it. After all, the space-time pagoda is too important, Sikong Chuyu said. The space-time pagoda was the #1 spiritual treasure of the Qingtian region. It was also the symbol of the Qingtian region. Not to mention the cultivators of other regions, there was no cultivator in the Qingtian region who didn't know about the Xiantian pagoda. If the Xiantian pagoda, which was also the space-time pagoda, disappeared, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. The commotion that would sweep through the Qingtian region would also weaken the Qingtian region's strength. Just thinking about it makes me excited. The #1 spiritual treasure of the Qingtian region is ranked the highest among the known spiritual treasures. Just thinking about it makes me excited. If we can get that thing in our hands, it'll be very powerful, Yang Lei said with a smile. Let's deal with it first and get it first. The main thing is that the guy above the space-time pagoda is a hidden danger. We don't know who he is and what his cultivation level is. Knight Sorrow was still a little worried. No matter how strong he is, he's not a saint, right? If he was a saint, he would have already made a big move in the Qingtian region. It wouldn't be so peaceful. If he's not a venerable, it's impossible for him to make a big move, Sikong Chuyu said after analyzing. Okay, let's wait for Lord K to come back first. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and felt that it was better to wait for Lin Yuandao to come back before making a decision again. Over the next few days, Knight Sorrow cultivated every day. When he had time, he would go to the Xiantian Square. However, he was always with Lan Yuxuan. He changed into the same white battle robes and black battle robes. He also wore a mask. Knight Sorrow was wearing a mask and a new robe. It was hard to say whether the Gu family would recognize him or not, but they definitely wouldn't dare to directly attack Knight Sorrow, who was a member of the Tianji Tower, because that would be a declaration of war. Declare war? Even Sky-bearing City couldn't declare war on Tianji Tower, much less the Gu family. If a war broke out, Tianji Tower might suffer losses, but the Gu family would no longer exist. Even the other branches in the 9 regions and 18 prefectures would be uprooted. Lan Yuxuan didn't understand why Knight Sorrow was doing this, but since Knight Sorrow didn't say, she didn't ask because it wasn't appropriate. She was now a subordinate and was only responsible for protecting Knight Sorrow and coordinating the relationship with Tianji Tower. She couldn't care less about anything else. Knight Sorrow could sense Shao Kong's existence even though he was very far away from the space-time pagoda, but he couldn't communicate with her. After entering the range of 20 li, Knight Sorrow could communicate with Shao Kong. Shao Kong was a bit impatient. She didn't want to stay here right now. Knight Sorrow was comforting her and telling her about the current situation. Knight Sorrow felt that it was fine if he didn't take action. If he did, he would do it well. There was only one chance. If he didn't succeed this time, Sky-bearing City wouldn't give him a second chance to take away the space-time pagoda. Even if it was just a decoration, it had to be left in the Sky-bearing City. After communicating with Shao Kong for a few days, Shao Kong's affinity with Knight Sorrow had increased. Every day when Knight Sorrow came, Shao Kong would talk to Knight Sorrow endlessly. Under Shao Kong's guidance, Knight Sorrow even bought a time crystal. If it wasn't for Shao Kong's guidance, Knight Sorrow wouldn't have been able to recognize that the gray stone was a time crystal. After cultivating his foundation at night and practicing his spear techniques during the day, Knight Sorrow would walk around the profound heaven square. In the blink of an eye, 1 month had passed. Knight Sorrow's cultivation base had also advanced to the 5th level of the Void Inquiry stage. His Myriad Dao Treasure Tome had also advanced to the 2nd level of the Dao Seeking Realm. His soul power had also improved very quickly, mainly because of his good foundation. The quality of Knight Sorrow's soul power was perfect. Therefore, it was easier for him to increase the quantity of his soul power. If it was a normal spirit sea, Knight Sorrow's soul power would improve even faster. His spirit sea was more than 1/3 larger than ordinary people's spirit sea. This made Knight Sorrow's foundation solid. At the same time, it also made it more difficult for Knight Sorrow to improve his soul power. On this day, when Knight Sorrow had just finished his cultivation, he discovered that some people had come. They were Lin Yuandao and Wu Ling Fei, who was wearing a mask. C initial E initial S 4" Lord K Lord, and Fei, why are you here? Knight Sorrow looked at Wu Ling Fei in surprise. I'm here to see how you are doing. Wu Ling Fei said. Elderly and I swallowed our pride and invited you here. How many years has it been since Lord Wu Kei came to our headquarters? Lin Yuandao said with a smile. It's good that Aunt Fei is here. Since Wu Ling Fei was here, Knight Sorrow felt more confident. Lin Yuandao took a cup of tea from Sikong Chuyu and sat down. Knight Sorrow, I went to the Dark Hall with Lord Wu Quebec. I heard from the supervisor that you were looking for me. What is it? It's a big matter, so I have to tell Lord K Lord. It's like this. The Xiantian Tower has already communicated with me. To put it bluntly, the Xiantian Tower, or the Spacetime Pagoda, has recognized me as its master. The problem I need to face now is how to take it away. The City Lord Mansion will definitely not allow this. Knight Sorrow explained the situation from beginning to end. The Xiantian Tower recognizing you as its master is a good thing. It's also a big matter. If it's not handled properly, it might lead to a war. Lin Yuandao's expression was very serious. If this matter is very troublesome, I'll wait a little longer. I must steal this spacetime pagoda, Knight Sorrow said. You can't wait. According to what you said, the Xiantian Tower, or the Spacetime Pagoda, only has someone at the peak of the Venerable Realm. If he enters the Saint Realm, then the Spacetime Pagoda will have nothing to do with you. Your opportunity will be snatched away. Senior Brother Lin, how do you think we should deal with this matter? Wu Lingfei looked at Lin Yuandao and asked. Junior Sister Wu, don't worry. It's true that the Spacetime Pagoda belongs to the City Lord Mansion, but it doesn't have an owner. Everything has a spirit. It chose Night Sorrow, so it's Night Sorrow's opportunity. It's not wrong for us to help Night Sorrow. Now, we just need to think of a foolproof way to silently eat the meat without others knowing who ate it. That's perfect, Lin Yuandao said. In the Tianji Tower, the Chief Tower Master and Deputy Chief Tower Master were addressed as Senior Brother and Junior Sister. Lin Yuandao and Wu Lingfei had both been celestial emissaries, so it was appropriate for them to address each other as Senior Brother and Junior Sister. Night Sorrow, I think you must have a plan. Tell me about it. We have to be careful, Wu Lingfei said. She understood Night Sorrow and knew that Night Sorrow must have a plan in mind. It's like this. I have a plan, but I need others to help. The Spacetime Pagoda can break through space and leave, but if you want to find me, you need to cooperate. Night Sorrow explained his idea. This plan is feasible. Prepare to steal and prepare to fight. We must have the Spacetime Pagoda, Wu Lingfei said. Junior Sister Wu, what do you think is appropriate? Lin Yuandao looked at Wu Lingfei and asked. Chapter 490. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. How about this, Junior Martial Sister Wu, you take Night Sorrow with you. You're better than me in terms of spatial imprisonment. If there's a battle, I'll take care of it. Lin Yuandao rejected Wu Lingfei's suggestion. Senior Martial Brother Lin, it's not appropriate for Tianji Tower to go to war with the Qingtian region, but the Eastern Xian region doesn't have this concern, and it won't cause any trouble. After Night Sorrow succeeds, you all retreat, and I'll fight him here. If worse comes to worst, I'll retreat as well. This will turn into a war between the Qingtian region and the Eastern Xian region. It's not like such a war has never happened before. Alright, I'll respect Junior Sister Wu's decision. In addition, a portion of our Tianji Tower's troops will also be transferred to the Eastern Xian region. If they want to attack the Eastern Xian region, then let's give it a try. We'll kill as many as they send. Lin Yuandao said. Then it's settled. Night Sorrow, do you need anything else? Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and asked. There's nothing else. When the time comes, I'll communicate with the Spacetime Pagoda and have her disappear into thin air. Before she disappears, I'll trick that guy up there. I'll just wait here to receive her. There's nothing to prepare, Night Sorrow said. Then it's settled. I'll go back and arrange for people to head to the Tianji Tower's Qingtian region branch and make preparations for a tough battle. We'll take action tomorrow. Also, perhaps he hasn't discovered anything. I'll leave with Night Sorrow and Junior Sister Wu won't need to fight. Lin Yuandao made a summary of the operation plan. After chatting for a while, Lin Yuandao left. Wu Lingfei didn't leave. She didn't have anything else to do. Now that Auntie Fei is here, I have some confidence in my heart. Originally, I planned to return to Eastern Xian region to discuss this matter with Auntie Fei. However, going back and forth is too time-consuming, said Night Sorrow. Master K's side is completely trustworthy. The law enforcement elder, the guardian elder, the chief supervisor, and the chief guardian are all the core members of Tianji Tower. They are all trustworthy people. Wu Lingfei took off her mask, picked up the tea in front of her, and took a sip. It's true that I've always been troubled by something. This has brought trouble to Tianji Tower and the Eastern Xian region. Night Sorrow said apologetically. That's nothing. It's a good thing. In addition, there are some things that Auntie Fei wants to tell you. Eastern Xian region and Tianji Tower will advance and retreat together in the future. Wu Lingfei explained to Night Sorrow that Tianji Tower wanted to expand into a second base in the Eastern Xian region. That's good. Tianji Tower won't fight for territory. This will only strengthen our Eastern Xian region. It's a good thing, said Night Sorrow. Auntie Fei also thinks so. Auntie Fei is a member of Tianji Tower and also a member of Eastern Xian region. Therefore, I don't want any conflict between the two sides. I feel that the interests of both sides are very important. If Tianji Tower establishes a second base in Eastern Xian region, the number of members from Eastern Xian region will increase. In addition, the talents from other regions will grow in Eastern Xian region and develop feelings for Eastern Xian region. Therefore, this is beneficial to both Eastern Xian region and Tianji Tower. Yes, I understand. Night Sorrow said. It's good that you understand. In addition, Tianji Tower's regulations have also been revised. It means that the city lord of 9 regions royal city can also be the K-master. In fact, this doesn't conflict. This way, Tianji Tower can develop faster. It also solves the concerns of some members. Who doesn't have feelings for their hometown? Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. That's right. For a force to develop, the first thing to do is to set a path. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that this regulation had something to do with Wu Lingfei coming from Eastern Xian region. There's one more thing. It's about you. This is the intention of the upper echelons of Tianji Tower. It's also the key to this cooperation. In the future, Auntie Fei will no longer care about Eastern Xian region. They hope that you will be the successor. This way, there won't be any cracks in the cooperation between Eastern Xian region and Tianji Tower. Wu Lingfei threw out another topic. Me? That won't do. Let's not talk about my strength. I still have a lot of things to do. Night Sorrow shook his head. Why are you in such a hurry? Auntie Fei is here. It's not like Auntie Fei will no longer care about things tomorrow or the day after. You don't have to worry about this. It's just a topic. Wu Lingfei said. Alright, I have no objections. Night Sorrow said. Then Auntie Fei won't join in the fun. We'll talk tomorrow. Wu Lingfei stood up and said. Auntie Fei can stay here. Night Sorrow also stood up and said. Auntie Fei also has a mansion here. The second mansion is Auntie Fei's. I haven't been there for many years. I'll go take a look now. You don't have to worry about it. After putting on her mask, Wu Lingfei stood up and left Night Sorrow's mansion. Eastern Xian region is about to change. With a good foundation, it'll only take a long time to develop in the future. In addition, with 2 big shots taking action, it won't be a problem to get the space-time pagoda. Sikong Chuyu said. Fortunately, I hope it will go smoothly this time. I really don't want to bring trouble to Eastern Xian region and Tianji Tower. Night Sorrow said. If the space-time pagoda's ability to travel through space is strong, the chances of being discovered are not high. Sikong Chuyu said. Alright, you two go cultivate. Night Sorrow said. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu nodded and went to cultivate. They knew that Night Sorrow needed some peace and quiet. After cultivating for the whole night, Night Sorrow got up to cultivate his spear art. Lin Yuandao came over. You're in good shape. Lin Yuandao greeted when he saw Night Sorrow cultivating. Lord K is here. Night Sorrow put away his spear and wiped his sweat. Lin Yuandao nodded and found a place to sit down. Moo, head. Not long after Lin Yuandao sat down, Wu Lingfei also came over. Although the mansion was isolated from detection by a formation, experts could still sense some clues. Senior brother Lin. Wu Lingfei, who was wearing a veil, greeted. Junior sister Wu, everything has been arranged. We'll use the first plan. If it goes well, we'll take the space-time pagoda away. If it doesn't, we'll use the second plan and start the war. Lin Yuandao said. Good. Today, we'll tear down the Qingtian City Lord's Mansion's signboard. This is the beginning of a battle, not the end. Wu Lingfei said. Then we'll set off. You two don't need to go. Lin Yuandao looked at Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. Okay, we'll wait here. Auntie Fei, be careful. Yang Lei said. N. Wu Lingfei nodded. After leaving the manor, concubine Wu Lingfei led Yi Shang and Lin Yuandao toward the Shantian Tower. When they were still some distance away from the Shantian Tower, Lin Yuandao nodded to Wu Lingfei and she stopped. If there was no battle, then Wu Lingfei would be trapped in the space-time pagoda. Her purpose was to fight when the other side discovered her. If she wasn't discovered, then there was no need for her to appear. She would go to the Tianji Tower branch and wait. Chapter 491. Genius 1 second. Remember love go/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Yi Shan communicated with Lil Kong and told him where he was and the approximate distance he would be at during the operation. Night Sorrow couldn't use spatial Ren to take the space-time pagoda in close proximity. That way, he wouldn't be able to avoid the detection of Jiyu, Yuan Heng, and the others. Most importantly, the person on top of the space-time pagoda was very strong. If they moved in close proximity, they would definitely be discovered and a battle would definitely break out. After communicating with Shao Kong, Night Sorrow and Lin Yuandao moved southwest to a courtyard where the Tianji Tower branch was located. This location was also a suitable place to fight after a problem occurred because the Tianji Tower's people had all concealed their auras and were hiding in this branch. Under normal circumstances, no one would investigate this area, including the people of the sky-bearing City Lord's mansion. This was because the colossal Tianji Tower wasn't something they could casually touch. After arriving at the location, Night Sorrow looked at the space-time pagoda. Although it was a bit far from the pagoda, Night Sorrow could still see very clearly. He could see anything that happened in the towering pagoda. At this moment, the pagoda began to tremble. This caused the people around the pagoda to become restless, not understanding what was going on. The pagoda's trembling caused the surrounding cornerstones to shatter and the formation to break. Everyone who was close to the pagoda was blown away. Then, energy circulated around the pagoda and a huge energy phantom that was exactly the same as the pagoda shot into the sky. At this moment, an angry snort rang out. Night Sorrow, who was about 100 miles away, heard it clearly. Then, the pagoda shrank and the tip of the pagoda moved. A black spatial rend appeared and the pagoda flashed into the spatial rend. Before the pagoda completely entered the spatial rend, a huge energy hand grabbed at it. The pagoda that was attacked spun with energy and shook the hand away. Then, it entered the spatial rend. At this moment, Night Sorrow's bloodline talent erupted and he used spatial rend to slash at the space in front of him. A hissing sound rang out as a spatial crack appeared. Although it was a thin black crack, it was still a spatial crack. However, it didn't last for long before it closed up. With a low roar, Night Sorrow once again used Space Ren to cut open the space in front of him. It was then that Lin Yuandao made his move. Both his hands stretched out to tear open the spatial crack, causing it to widen slightly before locking down space. Just as Lin Yuandao was about to lock down space, a beam of light flashed out and rushed into Night Sorrow's body. Spacetime Pagoda. Night Sorrow knew that it was the spacetime pagoda that had entered his body. Seeing that the matter was settled, Lin Yuandao waved his arm and smoothed out the space, allowing the energy to stabilize. Then, the aura on his body dissipated and returned to normal. In the air above where the spacetime pagoda had originally been, angry roars rang out one after another. A large hand of energy was still being controlled, clawing wildly within the spatial rift that had yet to close. It's settled. Lin Yuandao said softly. It went very smoothly. This is good. There won't be too much of a disturbance, said Night Sorrow, who was inspecting his body. At this time, the spacetime pagoda was inside Night Sorrow's dantian. It was only 2 inches tall, and Night Sorrow's core was spinning at the top of the pagoda. Everything was so perfect and harmonious. Although there won't be a battle, the disturbance won't be small. Sky-bearing City's face will be completely destroyed. As long as they aren't stupid, they will know that the spacetime pagoda has recognized a master. An ownerless spirit treasure wouldn't have such a reaction. Wu Lingfei appeared beside Night Sorrow. As long as we weren't discovered at the time, what can they do even if they find out anything? If they touch our Heaven's Fate emissary, then they must be prepared to raze the city lord's mansion to the ground, said Lin Yuandao. Night Sorrow, what's the situation? Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Night Sorrow stretched out his arm and the translucent spacetime pagoda appeared in Night Sorrow's palm. Hurry up and put it away. Don't let your aura be detected, Wu Lingfei reminded Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and put the spacetime pagoda back into his body. You really have heaven-defying luck. How many spirit treasures do you have now? You're practically a moving treasury, Lin Yuandao said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's golden phoenix flexible armor and ice silk soft clothes couldn't hide from him. That guy was heavily injured. It's Ji Yufeng Lan, said Wu Lingfei. He really is unlucky. I didn't think that guy would be hiding at the top of the spacetime pagoda. Lin Yuandao sighed. After all, no one would have thought that the city lord of sky-bearing city would hide at the top of the spacetime pagoda after not showing himself for countless years. He's above the spacetime pagoda, intercepting the spacetime pagoda's energy to cultivate. The spacetime pagoda has long been dissatisfied. It's only right to blast him, said Night Sorrow. So many years have passed. He hasn't grown much, said Wu Lingfei. Lin Yuandao smiled and nodded. There was no one else besides Wu Lingfei who could evaluate the city lord of sky-bearing city like this. Supra, new chapter / Supra, if others said this, they would be bragging. However, Wu Lingfei had fought the city lords of sky-bearing city and Taiyue city alone. Although both sides had suffered heavy injuries, her battle record had still shocked the world. That battle had made everyone know that as long as Lord Golden Phoenix and Wu Lingfei were present, the eastern Xian region couldn't be bullied. Lord K, Auntie Fei, have some tea, said Night Sorrow as he brewed a pot of tea on the stone table in the courtyard. Go back and study it properly. However, you still have to be careful. The spacetime pagoda's aura is rather unique. That guy can sense it and will investigate it. He will be able to detect you when you entered the pagoda some time ago. Lin Yuandao reminded Night Sorrow. This matter can't withstand an investigation. In other words, this matter will definitely be exposed. Ji Yufeng Lan is an unscrupulous person. He won't start an all-out war due to the pressure of Tianji Tower, but he's still capable of sneak attacks and assassinations, said Wu Lingfei. She knew Ji Yufeng Lan very well. Then junior sister Wu will take Night Sorrow back to the eastern Xian region. Some of our people have already gone there. They can deal with and crush any storm, said Lin Yuandao. Lutrin Swan and Li Changtian had already stayed in the eastern Xian region. The center of gravity of the Tianji Tower had shifted there, so the eastern Xian region's power was naturally stronger. The several tycoons of the Tianji Tower were all great figures who could suppress a region. No matter where they were, they would be giants. In the past, the Qingtian region and Taiyue region couldn't break in, so it was even more impossible now. That's fine. If there's any problem, senior brother Lin can send a message and we'll rush over. Wu Lingfei also agreed with Lin Yuandao's decision. Okay. Our Tianji Tower's strategic teleportation array can be completed in half a month. We can face all kinds of wars at any time. Even if the headquarters is a little lacking in manpower, someone can give it a try, said Lin Yuandao with a smile. Okay, it's settled then, said Wu Lingfei. Then, Lin Yuandao left. Wu Lingfei took Night Sorrow to the mansion area of the Tianji Tower in a beast carriage, leaving behind Ji Yufeng Lan who was constantly screaming in the air. Chapter 492. Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second / Small. This is a wonderful novel for you to read. During the war with Eastern Profound Region, Ji Yufenglan's blood and qi had been frozen by Wu Lingfei's profound jade spirit qi. His meridians had been frozen and cracked, causing him to be unable to recover. In the end, Jiyu Fenglan came up with a recovery method, which was to use the power of laws when the spacetime pagoda absorbed the energy of heaven and earth to heal himself. As he cultivated, Jiyu Fenglan's injuries slowly healed, and he comprehended the power of space. This made him very happy, and he felt that he could advance his earth attribute to the space attribute. Just as he was about to finish and enter the final stage of the attribute evolution, the spacetime pagoda shook, and a strong impact of the power of space directly scattered the small amount of space energy he had condensed. It directly destroyed the space attribute Tao foundation he had condensed for a long time, causing him to lose the opportunity to enter the higher attribute Tao foundation. In addition, his injuries showed signs of relapsing. How could he not be angry? However, no matter how he attacked the spatial crack, the spacetime pagoda did not appear again. Without the assistance of the spacetime pagoda, Jiyu Fenglan could no longer advance to the space attribute. After attacking for a while, Jiyu Fenglan landed on the ground and looked at the elders of the city lord's mansion and the senior members of Jiyu family who had already gathered. Who can tell me what's going on? Jiyu Fenglan stared at the group of people in front of him with his blood-red eyes and asked. Everything was normal yesterday, and no one has entered the pagoda today. I don't know what happened. Jiyu Yuanheng bowed and said. City Lord, did the Shantian pagoda evolve and have its own consciousness? An old man asked. It had its own consciousness long ago, but it was hidden very deeply. Even if it had its own consciousness, such a situation would not have occurred. It should have recognized its master. Men, seal off the surroundings of the Shantian pagoda. No matter who it is, as long as they are suspicious, arrest them. Put Sky-bearing City on the first level of alert. Jiyu Fenglan directly issued a series of orders. However, Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei had already gone far away, and the two soon arrived at the mansion district. Did it go well? Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu looked at Night Sorrow nervously. It's going very smoothly. Chuyu, we can't go to Mount Yunwu anymore. The situation is rather serious, and it's very likely that a war will break out. Therefore, Auntie Fei and Lord K want us to return to the Eastern Profound region first. Night Sorrow looked at Sikong Chuyu somewhat apologetically. Is there anything you need to do in Mount Yunwu? Wu Lingfei asked. Nothing much. I just want to report my safety. If it's not convenient, I won't go, Sikong Chuyu said. If it were any other time, it wouldn't be a big deal for me to accompany you to Yunwu Mountain. However, the current situation is special, and I have to go back to prepare for battle. Chuyu, write a letter, and I'll arrange for a senior member of Tianji Tower to deliver it, Wu Lingfei said. KQN version first release 3. Normally, Wu Lingfei would accompany Night Sorrow's group to Tianji Tower. However, she couldn't do so now because a war could break out at any time. As the person in charge of the Eastern Profound region, she had to be there. In addition, Tianji Tower had a big operation in the Eastern Profound region and needed her to preside over it. Most importantly, Night Sorrow would only be safe if he left the Qingtian region. Sikong Chuyu then wrote 2 letters. One was for Yang Tian of Mount Yunwu, and the other was for Sikong clan's third young master, Sikong Tian Ding, who was also her parents. Holding the letters, Wu Lingfei left for a while and directly handed the letters to the other senior members of Tianji Tower in the mansion district. Then, she left the Tianji Tower's mansion district with the 3 of them. After the masked group arrived at the teleportation formation, they directly teleported to Dongyuan City and headed for Donghua City. This time, they didn't use mounts. Wu Lingfei directly flew with them. Their speed was completely incomparable to flying mounts. What Night Sorrow's group didn't know was that not long after they teleported out of Qingtian City, the teleportation formation of Qingtian City was closed and the entire city was under martial law. Jiyu Fenglan understood that the spacetime pagoda had recognized a master and was taken away. If there was no one to receive them, then the spacetime pagoda should still be where it was and had its own consciousness. At most, it wouldn't recognize others and wouldn't let them recognize a master, but it wouldn't cause such a big commotion. Many people were disgusted by the martial law of Qingtian City, but there was nothing they could do. In Qingtian City, the orders of the city lord manor were the most authoritative. Even if they were dissatisfied, they could only endure it. Staying in the Celestial Peak Pavilion, Lin Yuandao only smiled when he received the news. Jiyu Fenglan's reaction was very fast, but it was too late. The change of master of the Spacetime Pagoda not only reduced the strength of Qingtian City, but also increased the strength of Tianji Tower. At present, Night Sorrow wasn't a sovereign, so the Spacetime Pagoda couldn't display its power. When Night Sorrow entered the sovereign realm, then Night Sorrow with the Spacetime Pagoda would be the nightmare of all opponents. Lin Yuandao liked Yi Shang very much. In Lin Yuandao's heart, Yi Shang was still a little immature and looked a little childish. However, his clear eyes showed that Yi Shang's heart was pure and sunny, without any evil or dark thoughts. This was also the reason why he wanted to pull Yi Shang to his side and not allow the Ministry of Supervision and the two elders to have any ideas about him. He planned to wait and see. If Yi Shang successfully entered the Venerable Realm, then he would announce Yi Shang as the young K Lord. The Celestial Peak emissaries were the successors of Tianji Tower's leaders, but there were still uncertainties about where to take them and what arrangements to make. They were completely different from the young master. Everything went smoothly. Guo came to Lin Yuandao's side. Yes, everything went smoothly. According to the time, Master Wu Kei and the others should have left East Park City by now, Lin Yuandao said. Before Night Sorrow took the Spacetime Pagoda, Lin Yuandao had asked Guo to lead a group of people to hide in the Tianji Tower branch, so Guo knew. The 7 heads of Tianji Tower had all gone through all kinds of trials and tests. They were loyal to Tianji Tower, so Lin Yuandao didn't hide anything. This little guy is a bit too cruel. Just one trip to Sky-bearing City and he's already trapping people so miserably. If he comes a few more times, the city lord's residents will cry, Guo said with a gloating smile on his face. His luck is good. In fact, some karma was formed when the Jiyu family cut off Night Sorrow's foster father's arm. This is the first confrontation, but it definitely won't be the last. It's going to be very lively in the future. Lin Yuandao said. Night Sorrow, this little guy, has been tormenting himself all this time. However, the forces around him have also risen along with him. Medicine Valley went from an unknown to a superpower in the Eastern Xian region. The Eastern Xian region is also on the rise, Guo said. Tianji Tower has to take some risks in order to raise him, but we can still bear them, Lin Yuandao said with a sigh. Chapter 493. Geniuses remember love in 1 second go. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. As the helmsman of the Empyrean Terminus Tower, Lin Yuandao felt pressure when he made some risky decisions. Let's not talk about this. Let's wait and see, Lin Yuandao said. Guo nodded and left. There were some things he had to arrange. Tianji Tower had to prepare for battle. Whether Qingtian City reacted or not, Tianji Tower had to be prepared. After a little more than half a day, Wu Lingfei brought the 3 of them to Donghua City and started the teleportation. With Wu Lingfei's help, the speed of travel increased several times. They arrived at Linhai City in Dongxian Domain in a few days. Dongxian Domain is still the best. We can teleport however we want, Night Sorrow said after handing spirit stones to the guard of the teleportation formation. Haha. This place has to be heavily guarded in the future. It's a troubled time, Wu Lingfei said. With the activation of the teleportation formation, the group teleported to Dongxian City. Dongxian City is still the most comfortable place, Yang Lei said after exiting the teleportation formation. Alright, you guys go back and rest. Aunt Fei has other things to take care of. Don't talk about this because it's very serious, Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. First seat 1 inch, don't worry, Aunt Fei, Night Sorrow said to Wu Lingfei. Then Night Sorrow and the other 2 sat in the beast carriage and headed to Qingxin Cottage. Yi Shang communicated with Little Kong as he hurried along in the car. Little Kong had been furious for the past 2 days. According to Lil Kong, she was good at improving souls. With her help, Yishang's soul power could cultivate even faster. However, she had tried to rush towards Yishang's deity sea a few times, but she was blocked by the heavenly fate jewel. Shao Kong wanted to fight with the void fate pearl, but she was no match for it every time. He's so shameless. He's so domineering even though he doesn't have any intelligence. If he can't help you cultivate your soul power, why is he still in your spirit ocean? Shao Kong was very angry after being blocked again. Don't be angry. Isn't it the same if you stay in my dantian? Night Sorrow communicated with Shao Kong. I'm not convinced. I don't know what that thing is either. Shao Kong mumbled in response. After that, Night Sorrow told Shao Kong about the heavenly fate pearl. The supreme elemental origin of a large space is indeed powerful. I can't deal with it. After listening to Night Sorrow's explanation, Shao Kong became obedient and gave up on the idea of snatching territory from the heavenly fate pearl. Just help me cultivate my Jin Qi. I'm also helpless about the deity ocean situation. Night Sorrow communicated with Shao Kong. After this period of interaction, Night Sorrow learned some things about the Spacetime Pagoda. There were a total of 90 levels in the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. Below the 70th level was an ordinary cultivation space, 70th to 80th level was a space with the spatial attribute, and 80th to 90th level was a space with the time attribute. With Shao Kong's help, Night Sorrow comprehended the power of space and felt that it was very helpful to him. However, he couldn't do anything about the time attribute. The attributes were not compatible, so he couldn't absorb the power of time. Night Sorrow was very satisfied. When they were rushing, Night Sorrow tried to use the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda to suppress and kill. He directly smashed the ground a few feet deep. According to Wu Lingfei's judgment, that was the strength of a beginner supremacy's attack. However, Night Sorrow could only smash twice. This was because he had two types of energy in his body. The first time, it sucked up all his Jin Qi, and the second time, it sucked up all the energy of his myriad Daos treasured tome. It couldn't be helped. It was very difficult to activate a high-grade spiritual treasure. Wu Lingfei reminded Night Sorrow that before entering the Supremacy realm, unless he needed to save his life, he couldn't use the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. Sikong Chuyu was worried that he would get into trouble because of the treasure. The Spacetime Treasure Pagoda had another function. Night Sorrow could enter and exit the space freely, but he couldn't bring others with him unless Shao Kong opened it. This was inconvenient during a battle. The reason why Night Sorrow was different was because his body had the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda's origin energy. The Spacetime Treasure Pagoda's artifact spirit also had his soul energy. He could enter it anytime, anywhere, even during a battle. In addition, the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda could freely change its size in Night Sorrow's hands. At its smallest, it was only the size of a pinky finger. At its largest, it could be as tall as several floors. Of course, this was the extent that Night Sorrow could control it. If Shao Kong could control it, it would be fierce. It could turn into a grain of sand or reach the clouds. However, Night Sorrow couldn't control such an extreme state even with Shao Kong's help. In the end, it was because Night Sorrow's cultivation was too low. After returning to the mansion, Night Sorrow asked Aunt Feng to arrange for a sumptuous banquet. He hadn't seen his brothers for a long time, so he wanted to drink with them. Ho Jian and the others were very happy to see Night Sorrow return. They pulled Night Sorrow and drank with all their might. Night Sorrow liked the feeling of being brothers together. He didn't refuse anyone who came to drink with him. Night Sorrow's alcohol tolerance had been trained in Bamboo Garden Village. These people were no match for him. They drank until midnight before dispersing. After drinking, Night Sorrow entered the secret cultivation room and started cultivating. At the same time, he communicated with Shao Kong about how to help him cultivate faster. Shao Kong increased the speed of absorbing the energy of heaven and earth. She could absorb 3 kinds of energy of heaven and earth: ordinary energy, space energy, and time energy. In addition, Shao Kong told Night Sorrow that if Night Sorrow could enter the Venerable Realm, he could use the 60th to 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. However, the last 20 floors were different. Not only did it require the cultivation of the sage realm, but it also required special attributes. The last 10 floors of the space-time pagoda were treasured cultivation places that could change time. Night Sorrow didn't dare to think about it. Sage realm? That was too far away. At present, it was hard to say whether there were any sage realm experts in the 9 regions and 18 prefectures. Even if there were, they hadn't appeared yet. How could it be so easy to reach? The 9 regions and 18 prefectures didn't lack geniuses. After the investiture of the gods, there were many monstrous geniuses and geniuses. Wu Lingfei, Lin Yuandao, and the others, when they were young, which one of them wasn't a genius? But they still hadn't entered the sage realm. However, Shao Kong also said that she could let Night Sorrow absorb the power of space faster to strengthen his bloodline. Normally, there was no power of space below the 70th floor. However, as a tool spirit, Shao Kong could still change it a little. In the following cultivation, Night Sorrow felt the appearance of the power of space. Moreover, it was very pure. When it entered his body, it was refined and absorbed by the power of space circulating between the 4 bloodline energy points to strengthen his body. In addition, the space-time pagoda in his dantian was like a vortex, drawing the energy of heaven and earth into his body. After feeling it, Night Sorrow found that the space-time pagoda assisted his cultivation much faster than using resources. Not to mention these 2 things, the space-time pagoda could also absorb the milky white energy that could strengthen the soul to help Night Sorrow cultivate the power of the soul. This made Night Sorrow excited. As long as he had the space-time pagoda, he could save a lot of resources. At present, except for the cultivation of the myriad Tao Tome, which the space-time pagoda couldn't help, everything else was fine. Did you earn a lot after helping me? Shao Kong's voice sounded in Night Sorrow's spirit sea. Indeed. Night Sorrow replied, "You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.